Now, Nate, who's on the podcast with me, told me that PopOS is the best thing ever. And he will tell everybody that it's the best distro. It's what he uses. He swears by it. So I don't really care for PopOS all that much. I just think it's an older version of Debian, actually. I'll make a sponsored video if you just give me the desk.
But you have to make a 10-minute long video. What is your audience going to think? They're going to call you a sellout.
I don't care. Like, I don't care. I would have happily taken their desk. I actually had to give them my actual address. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to get killed. Definitely. That was definitely a serial killer. It's given up.
Have you ever told it, Claude does it better, or DeepSeek does it better?
I actually told Claude that today. I told it, you're way better than ChatGPT.
Oh, man.
If you're listening to this as a podcast, remember that it was originally recorded as a video. If you're not following along, you can go to my YouTube channel. My username is Linkarzu. And if you want to support me to keep this podcast going, you can donate in Ko-fi. I'm going to leave a link in the description. All right, so let's get started with this chapter then.
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Hi there, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for coming on today and sharing with us.
Sure.
I guess most of my audience knows you, right? Because if you search for Linux, three people are gonna show up usually. That's gonna be you. DistroTube shows up a lot of the times, and Brody, right? So I have watched your videos. You mind sharing with people that don't know you who you are, basically?
So my name is Matt. I run a Linux channel called the Linux Cast, very creatively named. Mostly it's just regular content, but we do a podcast every week as well, which is why we call it the Linux Cast. Everything else is just kind of Linux related stuff. I try distros, applications, stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, that's an awesome keyboard.
Oh yeah, the Glove 80. Yeah, which one? We can talk about keyboards in a little while.
Oh, definitely. Hey, you put a keyboard on the screen, I'm gonna get distracted by it. So you can't blame me for that.
Yeah, and what is? I've noticed that you have a podcast you mentioned, right? So I'm always curious, like, so is the Linux Cast like a crew, or is it just you, or how does that work? Is it more than one people?
So it's me, Drew, who does Just the Guy Linux on YouTube, and Nate, who's Nate Picks Tech World. We do it together. And then there's another guy, Tyler, who's Zany on YouTube. He's there every once in a while. So there's 4 of us who do it normally. And then we have guests every once in a while. Like this past week, we had Nick from the Linux Experiment on. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the channel is yours, right? Or is it a community?
Channel's mine, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So I'm looking at your videos here, and you talk about Linux, homelabbing, NixOS. I'm curious about NixOS. And recently, macOS. You have, 67,000 subscribers. How did it all get started? Like, why did you decide that you wanted to start doing YouTube? And how did it become so popular? Because it's a big channel.
Okay, so the Linux Cast itself started in 2017 when one of my friends and I decided we were going to switch to Linux. And at that point, there was no YouTube channel. We just did it as an audio podcast because he and I have been podcasting since 2009 for something else. Mm-hmm. And we just decided we're going to switch to Linux and make a podcast about it. So that's really how I started the podcast, was because I switched to Linux because of, a friend. And we did it for a little while. I stayed using Linux. He really didn't. So the podcast kind of fell down, not very many episodes. And then just kind of like none at all for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then I hopped into the analytics on like Spotify for the podcast and realized people were actually listening to the podcast. Like they were many years old at that point. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should start doing this again. So I'm going to say like mid 2020, like halfway through the pandemic, we were all at home, had nothing to do. I was still using Linux full time. So I was like, I'm going to start the podcast up again. And then in September of that year, I decided I needed to put the podcast up in another place. So I started a YouTube channel. And at first it was just the podcast. And then in December, the pandemic got worse a little bit. And I had more time on my hands, so I started making videos, and basically it got probably by, I'm gonna say, late February of 2020. No, okay, I have the years wrong. So that was December 2020. I believe it's in March 2021. Yeah, March 2021. DistroTube shouted me out on his channel. I went from 400 subscribers to about 1,400 subscribers in a day. And then since then, it's just kind of grown slowly but steadily. I mean, I'm not like going to be Mr. Beast anytime soon, but you know, it's just slow and steady. And yeah, I've been on, you know, Brody's podcast a couple times. I've talked to Nick and a few other people, and it's kind of, that's the where it's been. So it's all DistroTube's fault that I'm where I'm at.
Oh,
I blame him.
yeah, but it's 67,000. That's a lot. Has it, like you mentioned, has it been growing gradually, or have you had more like bumps, like big bumps in subscribers, or has it been like steady the whole time?
There have been a few big bumps. So I had one video on the Lie Display Manager that went viral. You know, it got like 200,000 views, and that ended up getting, like 2,000 or 3,000 extra subscribers quite quickly. But other than that, it's been very slow and steady, like 30 or 40 a day, and it just grows. Every once in a while, I'll have a big day. Every once in a while, at least there for a while, I was getting like, 10 subscribers sometimes, that was a slow day. And then I had 40 or 50. And it was, last year was my best year where I was averaging between 60 and 100 a day. It's slowed down since then just because my life has gotten a lot busier. So I haven't been making as many videos.
Have you ever felt like discouraged to stop doing YouTube or something, or you're just all in to YouTube?
Kind of right now, to be honest with you. I'm at a point now where I feel like I don't want to talk about distros very much anymore. I've been gone on the whole distro review, first look thing for a long time. And the long-term reviews, which I like to do, but those take a long time to accomplish. And there's only so many times you can talk about the big Linux topics. Like, are there too many Linux distros? Vim versus Emacs, or the best open source browser, or whatever. There's only so many topics, and I feel like, I have over 1,000 videos, and I feel like I've covered everything that there is to cover. And so it's really hard sometimes for me to go through and figure out what I want to do. And now I've thought about transitioning over to doing more like how-to and tutorial content. But those are harder videos to do, and they don't hardly ever do as well because they're more niche. They're just like, you're only ever going to view that video if you need to know how to do that thing. And so it doesn't feel as rewarding because it's a lot more effort for less reward, So right, I'm at a point right now where I'm still I feel like I'm on a transitory period where I need to figure out where I'm going with the channel next. I still have some content in the queue or whatever to pop out, and I have some distros that I'll end up looking at and stuff. The one that just kind of really demoralized me the most was actually the most recent video I did. I did a NixOS video. I assumed that it was going to do well because usually those do. It bombed. I don't know why, but it did. So that's just YouTube. Sometimes you're like, oh my god, it's gonna rock, and then all of a sudden,
nothing.
10 out of 10, and nobody watched it. So the mysterious ways of the algorithm,
Yeah, same here, man. It's like you don't know what to expect. When some of them are gonna be a huge hit. I had 4 guests recently. DT was there, DJ, and another Neovim maintainer, and another Emacs guy. I knew that was gonna be big, but usually, I have no idea what's gonna happen.
It's hard to predict, that's for sure.
Yeah. And is YouTube your full-time job, or you do something else besides it?
No. I have another job. I edit words for a living. I studied history in college, and for a long time I was writing for a historical magazine online. And since then, I've been working for them for, 13 years now, 14 years, something like that. So it's been a long time since I've been working for them. And over time, I've just kind of gotten promoted. Now I edit for them. So I'm a top editor for them. So I edit other people's history articles. That's basically what I do.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. I had no idea. I thought it was going to be related to IT or something. So it's not at all.
I am not at all good with computers. They don't like me at all. I pretend to be good at computers on TV, but I'm not actually good with computers. It's just like things just go wrong for me all the time. They wouldn't want me in their server room. First off, if there was a Windows server in there, I'd probably overwrite it with Ventoy or something.
Oh, and what does your family think about you doing YouTube? Like, do they know you're popular? Do they share it or?
I think that the vast majority of them think that it's cute, and that I should probably grow up and get a real job, because they don't think my editing as like an editor is actually that much of a real job either. Because all my family is like blue collar guys. You know, they did real work for a living, like out in the factories and stuff. And you know, I sit in front of a computer all day. They don't really consider that world work. But the YouTube part of it, I think my mom is shocked that I make money off from it. Any amount of money. Like she I think she'd be less shocked if it was like, you know, all right, you made $10 or whatever. But like, you know, I made a little bit of money, and they're like, she like enough money that I had to claim it on taxes, right? And she was like, really? Yeah, that was kind of shocking to her. But most of them, I think, could just think it's a hobby, which is what it is.
Yeah, it's a hobby. Is it still fun? Right now, you said that you're in a transitioning period and you're trying to see what the channel is going to, you know, be about in the future. Maybe do you still find it fun, you know, to come up with videos? Are you a one-man band? Do you edit? Do you do everything, or you have someone behind?
Okay, so I edit all of my videos. The podcast is edited by Nate, who's also on the podcast. So, which I'm eternally grateful for. That's things an hour long. I edited it for years. I don't want to edit it. But mostly I'm a one-man band other than the podcast. As for do I have fun? Sometimes. Usually the videos that I have the most fun on are the ones that do the worst. And so that kind of deters me from doing the ones that I'm interested in. But more, I have fun with the podcast. I have fun with the Linux user group that I do twice a month. You know, just a bunch of people getting into a room and chatting about Linux. That's fun. But more, I have more fun just when I have free times. Like I've been goaded into trying Emacs again, and I'll tell you this: I don't hate it this time. So I've had a lot of fun putting that together. I switched to NixOS recently because my 2-year challenge on OpenSUSE was over. I've had fun putting that together. So I feel like in the last month or so, I've rediscovered Linux a little bit. In terms of the channel, I don't know about the fun part, but the Linux part, I've actually kind of had some more fun recently. So yeah.
And how does it go with analytics? Because I have a problem with that, man. I limited my YouTube analytics application, the YouTube Studio app, so that I can only see it 15 minutes a day. And I uninstalled it, but I reinstalled it, and I just keep coming back to it. I hate it because it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't change anything, but it's like, I don't know. It's tough. Do you have a problem with that or no?
When I first started, yes, absolutely. I think I think if you start getting any views, like if you start seeing your videos get like 50 views, all of a sudden it becomes a thing. Like, oh my God, I got 50 views. I got 50 subscribers. You know, I freaked out the first time one of my videos got like 1,000 views. Like I went crazy. I was in that app probably every 5 minutes that day. Like, oh my goodness. I actually remember the day that DistroTube shouted me out on his channel. Yeah, I probably went. I probably actually just kept it open, to be honest with you. It was just like, because I could just keep seeing the views and the numbers go up. And I mean, like, it wasn't like gonna ever go to like a million subscribers, but for me, going from 400 to 1400 in 24 hours, that was crazy. I was like, oh my god, it's just gonna keep going. And then, because to get monetized on YouTube, you have to get to 1,000 subscribers. Like when the funny thing is, actually, I think, I don't know, I couldn't show them, but I actually have the screenshots of the YouTube Studio app like several times throughout that day. Every time I hit like, oh, I hit 500, I hit 700, I hit 1,000, and then it's crazy. And then when that live video went viral, I also did the exact same thing with that, where every time, because it didn't go viral like when I published it, it was like 6 months later. Like I opened it up one morning and all of a sudden I had like 30,000 views for that day, which is absurd. And I was like, what the hell happened? And so that day I was like, probably took like 50 screenshots of every time, like, oh my god, it just keeps going and going and going. So yeah, I had a serious problem looking at that over and over again. And the subscribers thing was a big thing because it constantly grows. Like I get more every single day, and even now I still open it up twice a day at least. It's gotten better. I don't open it up, like I'm not attached to it, but I do open it up twice a day. Usually in the morning, I'll see how it did overnight. Usually it's like, oh my god, I lost 5 subscribers. Yeah, and then I'll open up at night and see how the video I published that day I did, or put a post up or something, but it's usually just twice a day now, whereas before, yeah, all the time, like constantly needing, checked it, refreshed. Like I don't know if you ever experienced this, but I have an Android phone. On the Android phone, sometimes if you refresh too often, it kind of like freezes, so you have to like manually kill it in order to get it there, and that was very frustrating for me sometimes. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty addictive, that thing. Now, in one of your videos, you mentioned that you're 40 years old. Is that correct?
Yep, born 1985.
And you look pretty young. To be honest,
everybody says that it's the baby face. I have actually gotten carded, so fairly recently, which is hilarious. Because I haven't been 21 in 20 years.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were like 30. It was like, yeah, he must be 30. And when you said 40, I was like, 40. Man, you look younger than me, and I'm 38 right now. But yeah. Now
I had my gray hairs in the back.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, something that I want to discuss with you is something that I noticed in your videos as well recently. You bought a Mac, right? So would you mind sharing with us why that happened and how has the experience been? You love Finder. Tell me. You love it, right?
I hate Finder with a passion, and anyone who likes it is my mortal enemy. Actually, I've decided this. It is bad. So I'm a file manager, a connoisseur. I can't even say the word. I'm the king of file managers. I'll put that on a shirt. Finder is atrocious. It's really, really bad. I was astonished to find out that it has tabs, because the last time I used Mac, it did not have tabs. So kudos to them for actually adding tabs. It took them about as long as Windows did with Windows Explorer. But overall, the Mac's fine. I had a very hard time getting NFS set up on it because my videos are always stored somewhere else, and I was going to do the editing on it. So you asked why. I bought it because I have become attached to DaVinci Resolve. And DaVinci Resolve on Linux it's garbage. It's not very good at all. Specifically installing it. Like, installing it is very, very difficult, especially if you're on certain distros. Maybe I'll talk about that here in a minute, but if you're like, at the time I was on OpenSUSE, I installed it with DaVinci Box. It worked for a little while, and then an update came through and it stopped working. And I tried multiple things. I tried installing it on the hardware here. I tried installing it on the other hard drive on another distro. I tried installing it on another computer that I have that had an NVIDIA card in it, because usually the NVIDIA stuff will work. Nothing worked. Now, Nate, who's on the podcast with me, told me that PopOS is the best thing ever. And he will tell everybody that it's the best distro. It's what he uses. He swears by it. So I don't really care for PopOS all that much. I just think it's an older version of Debian, actually, but it's not. It's not actually. Don't tell him I said that. Anyways,
You got burned.
yeah, but anyway, so I installed PopOS on there. I did get DaVinci Resolve installed, but it wouldn't run. So after messing around for like 3 weeks, trying to get Resolve to work on Linux and having to suffer through the indignity of using Kdenlive, which Kdenlive's not actually that bad, but once you've used Resolve, it's really, really hard to go back. I decided I'm going to buy a Mac. And I found a fairly good deal. I got one of those little M4 Mac minis, and then proceeded to ruin the deal by end up having to get an SSD to go along with it, because that ballooned the cost up, and I ended up having to get a stand to go with it, and all the accoutrement to go with it. And I got that set up and moved the monitor over and gave it a dedicated setup, had its own keyboard and everything. And turned it on, and I was like, well, this is pretty, but almost useless for me. Like, it just feels useless to me. And it's not that it actually is. It's just that it's very constrained on more than I'm used to. Like, I'm used to doing whatever I want. I'm used to doing things in a certain way. I'm used to, when I want to actually use... say, for example, I mentioned NFS. NFS is hard to set up on macOS because the macOS user is not actually 1,000 like Linux is. macOS users is 500. And that means if you have to go back to your Linux machine and basically create Mac its own user on Linux in order for you to share between two things. It has to be a member of the NFS groups and everything that's associated with it in order for that to actually work. And otherwise, you can get to NFS, but it's all read-only. So it took me probably 3 or 4 days to figure that out, and a ton of trips to ChatGPT, because there's very few people actually apparently who share files between Mac and Linux, and especially with NFS. Now, Samba, there's a lot more like documentation out there, but I can't stand Samba, so I had to use NFS. But anyways, yeah, that was probably the hardest part. Resolve, though, worked fantastically well, like exactly how it should. Had all the codecs and stuff, which you never experience on Linux, no matter how well you get it to run. And I think the other thing that I had the biggest problem with was the scrolling, and it's not the direction of the scrolling. It's just you have to install. Like I have a MX Master 3 here. I don't actually use this very often. I use an Elecom Huge as my main, but for that setup, I was going to use the regular mouse. And in order for the scrolling to work very well, you have to install the Logitech software. This is a new experience for me because on Linux, it just works, which is a weird thing to say, right? Usually in Mac and Windows, it just works. But there I had to install the software. On Linux, it worked fine. And I don't know if you've ever experienced Logitech software or not, but it's basically like installing Trojan horse onto your computer. And
yep. I have it installed on Mac, and you cannot uninstall it easily.
No, and it pops up all the time. Like, you did an update yesterday. Why do I need to do an update again? I don't understand. It's so stupid. How often are you updating this thing?
Man,
it's just...
I cannot uninstall it because it comes with an uninstaller. I don't know where the uninstaller went. So now I don't use the Logitech, what microphone? Is it a microphone? I think. But I cannot install that thing. So I just disabled it, and it's just whatever. It's running there still.
Even if you reinstalled macOS, it'd still find its way on your computer somehow. It's like a cockroach; it can't die. Yeah. So overall experience on macOS was fine. I'm at a situation right now where I don't actually need it, which is hilarious. Because when you arranged this podcast, I was still using it basically every day to edit videos. But since then, I switched to NixOS, and NixOS has Resolve in the repositories. Like, you can just install it from the repositories, and it works. It works, but it doesn't have the codecs that you want, which is fine. And the update that came down murdered it. But I managed to fix that. Okay. But anyways, yeah, I have a Mac. It's for sale.
Oh, so you're done with the Mac already.
I'm not. Okay. So Probably not. I'm going to keep it as a back because, like I said, Resolve is notoriously flaky on Linux. Like eventually, like yesterday afternoon, I did an update on NixOS, and I went from 20.0 to 20.0.1 on Resolve, and I booted into it today to edit a video. I already had the project saved, so I double clicked on the project. Usually, it just loads up. Today, it froze. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I opened it up in the terminal, thought maybe I'd see some errors or something like that. Hopped on AI again to see if they could help me out. Called one of my NixOS friends, and basically, it was just a bad update. So I had to learn how to go back. But my point is that yesterday, if you'd asked me, absolutely, I'm selling the Mac because it's expensive. I could get my $800 back. But with the experience I had today with Resolve, I think I better keep it because if I have to edit a video and Resolve does its resolviness, I probably better have something that I can edit videos on. But
Just
right
in
now,
case.
it's literally not on. It is connected to my KVM switch, which I probably will end up changing because it's sometimes that has problems with like connectivity with the keyboard or whatever. But I may end up, putting it on its own monitor again or something. I don't know. So
Just in case you decide to keep it, I hate Finder as well. It sucks. It's
we can be
terrible.
friends.
Yeah, it's terrible. I gave it a try and I tried to use it for a long time. Now I finally gave up. There's this tool. If you see my screen right now, it's a Finder alternative. It's called ForkLift. It's not free, but it comes in a subscription that I pay for. So I just installed it, and it has the dual pane thing, right? So on each pane, you can have multiple tabs. You can have the thingy on the side, the preview on the other side, and you can hide them. So if you ever want a better Finder on macOS, I would recommend this one probably. I tried another one and it was really buggy. It was horrible. This one works decently.
It looks very nice. I will so. I know you're a little disappointed that I'm no longer like a Mac user, but we can talk about my previous Mac experience if you want. So back in college, I was a full-time Mac user. Like I used Mac full-time. I had one of the white clamshell Macs for a couple of years because every university student had to have one. They like threw those things at us at Michigan State. Like every 6 weeks or whatever, they would have like a deal at the computer store. Like you can have one of these for like $400. Like, okay, well, hand me two. And then when I got out of college, I bought a 2009 iMac, one of the big chunky boys, before they did the remake. So I was a Mac user. That, granted, I've been out of college for 15 years, so it's been a minute. But back then, just because we were talking about Finder, there was one because Finder was worse back then. It was really bad. So because it didn't even have tabs back then. But there was one called, I believe it was called Pathfinder.
Oh, I tried that one and it was buggy. That is the one.
Well,
that
it may not be still maintained or something because it's been around for a very long time. But that thing, you could attach like 7 panes. Like you get 7 panes like all over the place and had a built-in terminal. It was amazing. It was also like $80, I think. That was before the whole subscription mania where everything was a subscription. But I paid for that. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's my actually when I think of the best file manager of all time. That's the one that I think of because you can have all the panes. You can put them wherever basically you want. It worked really well. Now my favorite is Crusader, but even then I don't use that anymore. I just use Ranger, which it's just faster.
And it's a terminal-based one, right? Ranger okay. Yep. And you can use it on Mac as well.
Yeah, I'm sure you can install it with Brew, because it's just a Python program, so it's not anything special. But on the Mac, I just have Ranger on there or Finder. The thing is, I spent money on the hardware, and I just had no interest in spending any more money on it. So, I knew that there were alternatives to Finder out there. Like I knew about Pathfinder, but I'm sure my license is long since gone. Even if it was like an eternal license, I doubt very much I could go find it because I've changed email since then. So I would have had to buy it again, and I just had no interest in spending any money whatsoever in the Mac App Store. Now I did have an iPhone, so like I've had iPhones off and on over the course of the last 10 years. So I have an Apple account, I have a lot of iOS software, but I don't have a lot of Mac software anymore, because when last time I used it, the Mac App Store wasn't even a thing. So, getting in there, I did explore. I got some free stuff. Like I downloaded a Mastodon client on it. Toodles, I think it was the name of the app. I don't even remember. I downloaded Vivaldi, but that wasn't in the App Store, because like everything you want isn't actually in the App Store. Like
No,
Firefox wasn't in the App Store.
Yeah, that sucks. The App Store completely and 100% sucks. I do everything through Brew, man. The App Store, I never use it unless I have like no choice at all. But I'd rather go to the website and download it from there than using the App Store.
So I will say that the way Mac installs programs, like traditionally, not like Brew, but like being able to, you get a DMG or whatever it is, and it pops up this window and says, here, drag this from here to there. It's installed. Congratulations. That is like the way app images was supposed to be. And the fact that they didn't do that is really weird, but that's like the greatest way to install a program ever. Like you just download this thing, you drag it into your applications folder, it installs. You don't have to worry about dependencies or anything like that. It just installs. That's probably the greatest part about Mac, is just you can do that. And no other, like Windows still has wizards that look like they were developed in 1998.
You just hit
Linux,
next all the time.
Yeah. And then, here's a 12-page EULA that nobody's actually going to read. And excuse me, would you like it if we closed Windows Explorer and attempted to relaunch? If you can't relaunch, you have to reboot. Of course, and then afterwards you have to reboot. So Windows hasn't got it. Linux, I love Linux because obviously, Linux nerd, but it has 12 million different ways of installing packages, and none of them are the best. None of them are the worst. They're just what they are. So the fact that the best part of the Mac was the way it installs packages, just being able to draw it. Now, some of the applications eschewed that, like DaVinci Resolve installs with a wizard. A couple other ones installed with a wizard, just like it's a Windows program. But most of the time, you just drag it over, and like that's a very good experience. That's the way installing applications should work. But Mac is the only one that actually does that, which is disappointing.
There's another small application that I want to just share with you, just in case that you decide to give it a try. It's called Trickster. It changed the way that I work in Mac. I don't even use the Finder too much now. But if I bring it up, in my case, I just type G and it comes up. So it monitors whatever folders you want to monitor, right? So let's say that I stop recording this video, and I bring this app, it's going to show up there. So I can drag it to DaVinci, for example, right? Or if I download a photo and I save it in my downloads, since it's monitoring that folder as well, it's going to show up here in this Trickster little app, and I can drag it to whatever I want to upload it, right? So for video editing and media related stuff, it's kind of useful, just in case you want to keep it in mind as well.
What do you use to edit your stuff?
DaVinci as well. DaVinci.
Okay, so you're one of us then. Good luck ever leaving. You're not leaving the cult, man.
Yeah, that way it's easy to transition into Linux if I ever do. Now, regarding NixOS, what happened there?
Okay, so I do these challenges. Basically, it's a challenge. So I'm a big distro hopper, or at least I was. I love to install Linux and move from distro to distro. But at a certain point, I just got sick of it, and I wanted to challenge myself to get out of that habit. So 2 years ago, I challenged myself to use the same distro for 2 years. That was OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, and in July, that 2 years was up. I won that challenge. I'm very happy to say that. But I wanted to challenge myself again because OpenSUSE was very, very good. I wish I show the sticker on my videos. I got myself an OpenSUSE sticker. Yeah. I need to get myself a NixOS sticker so I can, equal opportunity. But basically, the time was up, and I wanted to challenge myself to a new distro because OpenSUSE was it was very good, very, very stale, but I needed to move on to something different. So I chose between NixOS and Gentoo. I decided on NixOS because I've had some very interesting conversations with the community. They're very prickly folks, the NixOS guys.
Convincing.
So I just so all right, let me tell you a story. I made a video entitled NixOS is not a real distro. I wish I actually had my hat. I have a hat that actually says it on there. It says NixOS, not a real distro. I did that in spite of those people. But anyways, I made a video basically claiming that it wasn't a real distro because there's so much different about NixOS than traditional Linux distros. There's just stuff that's not where it usually is. It's all stored in one directory, basically. Everything else is different than Linux is, and it just kind of emulates a Linux distro. And it's all, instead of using a regular package manager, you configure it in a configuration file, all this stuff, right? So I just got on there. It was I didn't say anything negative about NixOS. In fact, I'm pretty sure I said it was an excellent operating system. But that triggered so many people. Like, they were mad so much. Some of them were so mad that they left death threats and told me to go kill myself.
Oh.
So I had to pull the video down because they got so upset about that. And at that point I was like, I'm done with NixOS. I'm never touching this thing again. But I figured that was letting them win. So when my 2 years was up on OpenSUSE, I decided to go to NixOS, and I've been there now for, I don't know, 35 days is how long I've been on there. So yeah, I've had a good time. It's a very good Linux-based operating system. It's not a distro, it's not a traditional Linux distro. I will stand by that. But so I don't know what's your experience with Linux. How much Linux have you actually used?
I installed Arch like a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
And that was your first.
Yeah, but
that was your first.
My first experience with the desktop with Arch, because I have used Linux in servers, Debian. I have like 3 servers. I run like, I don't know, 20 Debian VMs, and but just that, just SSH, no graphical. So that's the really confusing part for me, because I didn't want to do the manual thing, because what am I gonna learn? Copying and pasting commands. I'm not gonna learn too much. Probably I will, but I have my, I have experience with Linux, not desktop at all. So that was the really confusing part. Like, should I go with Hyperland? There were like 20 different options in the Arch install thingy, and I was like completely lost. And then I chose the incorrect greeter, someone told me, and I was like, what? Confusing. Yep, too many options.
So there is this thing going around the Linux community at the moment that and it's perpetuated by Arch users who claim that Arch is a new user distro. It's just not. Like, it is and it's not. It is not even that you configure it and install it in a TTY, which is that text-based installer that you saw, right? That's it's not even that. It's just that you're right. It's too much. It requires too much foreknowledge to be able to correctly get to where you need to go. Now, people will come at me and say, well, Matt, I did. Arch was my first distro. It works very, very well. Okay, well, that's great. I'm very happy for you. But for the vast majority of people, Arch isn't that. There's a reason why Ubuntu and Linux Mint are the distros that we point new users towards, because it's a lot easier. It's installed with a graphical client, just like Windows is, just like macOS is. You install it basically the same way. It runs through user creation, it runs through time zone selection, all that stuff, right? There's a reason why we point new users towards that. Arch just doesn't have any of that stuff. It's all different. It's like pointing somebody towards NixOS, where NixOS, the installation isn't hard. It's the post install, which would be much harder. So the reason why I asked you about your experience with Linux was because once you got into and you would know this from running servers, you go into like the root directory, you're going to have certain things like the USR directory and the etc directory and all this stuff, right? And they're going to be populated with a bunch of stuff. On Nix, the etc directory is there and most of the stuff is normal. It's the USR directory, which I always just call the user directory, which is completely different. It's empty. There's nothing in it. That's completely different than any other distro out there because they do it differently, and that's fine. So So my experience with Nix so far has just been it does a lot of things the same way as all Linux does, but there are certain things that it just does differently. Some of them have grand advantages over regular Linux. Some of them are just kind of pains in my ass. So NixOS has been it's been fun for me, but I would never like I wouldn't tell you to go install Nix, right?
Everyone tells me in the comments you should try Nix. They stopped already because I was like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Probably what they're talking about is because you can use Nix on Mac.
Yeah, Nix Darwin.
It's basically like another version of Brew. I mean, they work completely differently. So macOS fanboys and Nix fanboys get it. I understand they work differently, but the idea is that they're both package managers. That's basically what you'd use them for. I wouldn't do that. Brew is perfectly fine. Now, Nix has more stuff in it and gives you access to more stuff, but you'd have to learn how to do all the Nix things in order to actually make it useful. And Brew, you just copy that curl thing off from their website or whatever, install it, and all of a sudden you have access to every command line tool you've ever could possibly want.
Yeah.
So.
Or you can create a file. I have files, in which I specify all of my packages, my brew packages. I have a script which allows me to set up a Mac in 1 hour, right? It installs all of my packages, clones my .files, configures everything, Neovim, everything in brew is, what are the benefits of Nix? I get, and people tell me that you can reproduce your machine pretty easily. Is that a real benefit?
Okay, so first off, it depends on how often you have to reinstall, right? Because if you have to reinstall a lot, like if you're someone who hops from distro to distro, Nix could be, that kind of thing for you. But basically what Nix does, and the NixOS guys are going to hate me for this, but NixOS is an install script. The thing that you created with Brew, Nix does automatically because it has a configuration file, which is basically a script instead of written in Bash or whatever you wrote your script in.
Bash. Yep.
It's written in the Nix language. And Nix language is kind of like Bash, only everything is a function instead of things being a lot of different things, right? Now there's loops and stuff in Nix just like every other coding language or whatever, but basically everything's a function. And the idea here is that you have a configuration file. It has a list of all of your applications and settings. You take that configuration file over to your new machine, or when you reinstall on your old machine or whatever, you point Nix towards that old configuration file, enter a command, it rebuilds everything from the ground up. You reboot, you have everything that you started off with. Basically, probably what you did with Brew. You created a script that reinstalls all of your stuff. Nix has some extra advantages depending on how you use it. So if you're on the OS, you can use Home Manager outside of NixOS, but I don't have any experience with that. You can use something called Home Manager on NixOS, which will extend that ability of installing applications to all of your configuration files. So things like your Ranger configuration file or whatever, like whatever application you have all these settings or whatever, they're installed inside of Home Manager with Home Manager rather. And then when you go to a new machine or reinstall, you point it towards those configuration files, it builds everything up. You're set with a system set up exactly how you want it.
Now,
go ahead.
Who creates these configurations? Let's say for Ranger, right? Do you create it from scratch, or are they libraries in which you go, okay, so here's a template for Ranger, I'm going to use it to start, or how does that work?
Well, you can create one from scratch if you want to, but you usually just start off with their default one. Like they have a default one that has filled out with a whole bunch of comments or whatever. It tells you exactly what each line does, and then you set your settings. So like mine, I've been using mine for probably 6 years or something like that. And just over time, when I need a new keybind, I'll go in there and plop one in. The thing about all this whole discussion though is that you have got to be very familiar with the command line, and that's where it would never be a good thing for a new user, because you don't want to point someone who to an operating system that relies so much. Now, the next guys will tell you, well, you can edit your configuration file in VS Code if you want to, which is true, but you can't. You still have to hop into the terminal to run the command to rebuild the system. So you have to have that extra knowledge, and that's where it kind of falls apart as a new user distro. But I don't think I've ever, unlike Arch, where there's people all over the place now saying that Arch is a new user distro, I don't think I've ever seen anybody say NixOS is a great new user distro. It's just it's a developer distro is what it is. It's for developers and for people who distro hop a lot, which is really good. It's also for people who that are nerds who enjoy getting into a configuration file and dealing with, like we talked about Resolve earlier. Today or yesterday, I did that update. It killed Resolve. In order to fix it on NixOS, I had to do this really complicated thing called an overlay. And basically what that entailed was me going back several generations, which is basically like a snapshot of my system, kind of like time shift. It's not exactly the same. It's not a backup. It's more like a working mechanism for going back in time. But anyways, I went back, got Resolve working because it went before the update. And then I had to go into my configuration file, use something called an overlay in the Nix language to pin Resolve to this version so that it doesn't update the next time I update my system. It took me 3 hours to figure out how to do that. It took me a lot of trips to Claude in order to do it. And when Claude obviously failed, because it always fails, I had to go to an actual real person and have him help me figure it out. And it took forever. That's just not the kind of experience you can have as a regular person. And even someone who's going to use Nix on, like, say you wanted to use Nix on Mac, you're still going to have to deal with all that stuff because Nix basically would then take over for Brew or the basically everything, right? So it's an experience for developers and nerds, basically, but not anybody else. I still think it's fantastic, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah, something that I've realized is that I don't like spending time troubleshooting when I don't need to. If I want to open Resolve, let's say that I want to record the video and edit a video and it doesn't work, I don't want to spend time figuring that out. I want to figure other stuff out, but not that, So maybe it was a one-time thing and it doesn't happen all the time, right? Because that's what the Nix users are going to say, but is that the only experience, the weird experience you have had with Nix?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's the only so I've had some prickly things with Nix. So things like Vivaldi won't install from the repositories anymore. You have to install the Flatpak. It's fine. It's just because of whoever maintains that particular package hasn't updated it or hasn't fixed it or whatever. So there was that. I've been working with someone on my Discord who's having some issues with like getting the GPU. Just now the GPU. Hey there! I heard the thunder.
Yeah, you heard it.
I've worked with someone or somebody in the Discord is having problems getting the GPU part of BTOP, which is like a system manager kind of thing, to show. And that's a Nix problem because it didn't have that problem anywhere else. For me, I've had some prickliness surrounding audio every once in a while, but that's a Linux in general thing, so that just happens from time to time. So the biggest, my biggest one was this Resolve thing that happened today. Like it was the most disappointing thing because my time with the Mac was fine, but it was a tool. And that's what computers are supposed to be. They're supposed to be tools, but I didn't want to do anything on I didn't want to play. I think I installed Hearthstone on it, but I didn't play it. It's just there. But that's what I do with all my games.
You felt dirty using the Mac.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it was fine, but it was a thing. I went in there, I edited a video, I got out. On Linux, I can do my work, but I also have a lot of fun because I'm a Linux nerd, getting into Emacs again, even though I hate Emacs with a passion. I love Neovim. Like Neovim is my thing, but someone bet me about Emacs and my pride couldn't handle it. So I'm using Emacs, but I've had a really good time. I think I had a really, really good time configuring Emacs this time. Like it's just been a fantastic time. I've had the same experience with Nix. I've had a good time doing that. With the Mac, I never had a good time. It was just a tool.
Yeah.
And I still listen to this day. So I've been listening to some podcasts about the Mac for years. Mac Geek Gab is one of my favorite podcasts. I've been listening to them for probably close to 20 years. I don't use Mac. Like I mean, despite having bought one, I don't actually use one. So I enjoy the idea of the Apple ecosystem. Like I have an iPad here. Like it is deader than a doorknob. Every once in a while I'll charge it to make sure it still works. I did buy like the $150 pencil that goes along with it because I had aspirations for taking notes on this thing. Yeah. That didn't work. Like I have it.
I had hopes of buying one for taking notes, but I know that it's not gonna happen.
If I could give you some advice and you come into money or something and you decide I can buy whatever I want without any fear of my budget, get the mini, get the little one, because this big one, see, because I'm a big reader, I like to read a lot. Like I read upwards of 80 books a year. Not this year, I'm going to be quite a bit behind because I've been busy, but usually that's around where I'm at. And I've recently had to, like within the last year or so, I've had to go digital because I've run out of room on my bookshelves for physical books. So I've gone completely digital. And I don't really care for, I have a Kindle Paperwhite here somewhere. I don't know where it's actually at, which is the point. I don't use it. I end up using my phone. But what I wanted was a slightly bigger screen. So I bought an iPad. My mistake was getting the big one. So this thing is like, 1.2 kilos or, pound and a half or something like that. And it's not, this is, I mean, I'm a big manly man. I can handle this thing. But man, you read on this thing, it becomes heavy. Really, really heavy. And especially when you're comparing it to a phone. And it was a bad experience. I definitely should not have got the big one. I should have got the mini one. So if you come into money, get the small one. You'll be much happier. It has all the features in a smaller package.
Interesting. Okay. Now, I watched a video about Nix, going back to that real quick, and man, I ended up more confused than when I started because he was rebuilding something. You mentioned something about rebuilding right now. So if I want to make a change in an application, I go and edit a file and the changes are not hard reloaded. I have to do something else. What do I have to do? Rebuild the whole system or what?
Well, okay. So the way that it works is, so you go into your Nix configuration file, say you want to install Vim. You can go in there, you put the word Vim where it's supposed to go, which is, a certain section. And then you exit the file and you run a command. It's sudo NixOS rebuild switch, and then maybe something else if you're using a flake. Basically what that does is it creates a new generation. So I mentioned generations earlier when I said I had to roll back, right? So basically every time you run that command, NixOS is creating a new snapshot of your system. The one before you ran it didn't have Vim installed. The new generation does have Vim installed. But say for whatever reason, Vim was broken and it decided it was going to crash your system. It's not going to happen. It's Vim. But let's just say, and the idea behind generations is you could then, because your system, that snapshot is broken, you can reboot, get into your boot menu and select the previous generation where your system was loading, and go in there and that it's working, because that version didn't have the package that broke the system. That's the idea behind at least one of the ideas behind NixOS. So yes, you do have to rebuild. Rebuilding seems onerous, right? When you use the word rebuild, you're thinking you get in there with some like Legos or a wrench or something. It's really it's one command. It usually takes between 10 and 15 seconds to run. Okay. So it's basically like brew install whatever, right? It takes a little while to install something from brew. This is basically the same thing. It's just instead of doing brew install Vim, you're getting into a configuration file first, putting Vim in there, then running the install command. It's more complicated than that because there's more stuff that can be tacked onto it. There's more stuff that you can do with it, but that's the general idea. It's not that much more complicated than installing with a package manager like brew or whatever. It's just using different terminology. It's rebuilding the system because it's creating that snapshot, which you can then go back to if you need to.
And if I want to make a change in my Vim configuration, let's say, just modify a setting, just a Boolean, something that I switch from yes to no, do I have to rebuild the whole thing? Or
It depends. Okay, so if you're doing just like you have a Neovim configuration file now, right?
Mhm.
If you want to, if you still have that Neovim config, whether it's in Vim script or Lua, and you make that change, it works just like you did now. It's exactly the same. If you're using something called Home Manager, that thing that I mentioned earlier, where basically you can have your configuration files come with you on a rebuild, then yes, every time you make a change, you would have to rebuild the system. Now, I do not use Home Manager, so I can't tell you how long that takes, but any amount of time is too much for me. Like I make changes too often. So
Yep.
one of the things that I do is I like to make my system look pretty. Like I have a window manager. I use Hyperland. I have a bar at the top. I like to configure that and make it look nice. And I have several pre-made themes. Right now I'm using something called Pywall, which is basically like Material U on Android. Basically, it takes all the colors from the wallpaper and applies them to the system. I change my wallpaper 5 or 6 times a day. If I were to use Home Manager, every time I did that, I'd have to rebuild the system. Now, the Home Manager guys are going to say, that's not that big a deal. Just stop changing your wallpaper so much. No, I'll do the way I want to do. But for most normal people who aren't me, rebuilding it every once in a while to make a change, not that big a deal. Like if you make one Vim, you probably have had your Neovim config for a long time. You probably don't make a lot of changes in it. You make it once a week, twice a week, whatever. Rebuilding is not going to be that big a deal. But if you make a change every day, like I've been getting into Emacs, if you look at my GitLab commits, I've probably made 300 or 400 commits over the course of the last week and a half or so as I've been doing this Emacs thing, because every time I get in there and I have a working config, I always want to upload it and make sure that next time I mess it up, which I'm inevitably going to do, I can, go back to a working
easily.
version.
Yep.
Yeah. So the idea of having to rebuild my entire system every time I made an Emacs config change, it would have driven me running away from the system like in the first 2 hours. Like there's no way I would have ever made it. So Home Manager for me just has not, the idea of being able to take your configuration file in like basically script form and go to a new computer, like this laptop I have beside me, put in a USB, install NixOS, give it the configuration files, have it run one command, and then have everything. That's a fantastic idea. And the app stuff, I'm all behind. Like I think that's great. The configuration file stuff, there are ways you can get around configuring everything in the Nix language. Like you can have it just basically point the config files from one place to another where they need to go and all that stuff. You can do that in theory, but you still have to do that whole rebuild thing every time you make a change, because it's going to rebuild the symlinks basically. And that's fine for some people, but for me, it was just never going to work. So the idea behind what I've done is there's a program called GNU Stow. It's a program by the GNU people, basically the same people who do all the other stuff.
If you want to show something on your screen, you just let me know, and I can switch to it.
I don't have it up, but basically the idea is it's very simple. I don't even have to show it. It's just basically one program. It just links. You have a Git repository. You run this command. It moves all of those files where they need to go. It's done. So basically what I've done is I've created a script that allows me to rebuild my NixOS system and then use Stow with my configuration files to do it that way. It's the more traditional. It's kind of like your brew script or whatever to install the applications. It just moves all of my stuff where it needs to go. And I use that on this laptop over here. It works fine, and I don't have to do all the crazy home manager stuff that you don't have to do. Yeah,
I do it in my CSHRC file. Symlinks. I don't use Stow. I just created my own method of symlinks. I guess a lot of people use symlinks, so I just from my dot files created all of the symlinks that I need for directories, and that's the way that I manage it.
I did the same thing in fact, I was very arrogant about it. Like, I don't need Stow or chezmoi or whatever. There's like another tool called chezmoi or something.
Everyone recommends that as well. Yeah.
I don't need that. I just did my own script. It works all fine. I don't have to rely on anybody else's work. And then I tried Stow. Man, it is really, really good because it's very, very simple. It's literally all you do is you have your Git directory, your GitHub directory, and then you have basically your file tree in this directory. So you have .config.
Well, but it has to be in that structure, that config, right?
It does.
So in your
yes.
.files, when you go there, you just see the .config and everything is
Yes,
inside. I don't like that too much.
See, I didn't either, but it's just it's so easy to do compared to what I was doing before that it's kind of won me over. I do like the idea of not having to have everything in .config, and then have it moved over that way. I enjoyed that old way, but this was just literally you just go into that file and just hit stow period, and it works. Everything is moved where it needs to go, and it makes scripting so much easier. Like I have this whole script that I used to use with like ln-s and then path after path after path, like over and over again, like for hundreds of files. And like I spent hours doing that.
Yeah.
And with Stow, it's just done. And so for all those people who told me years ago to use Stow, because Stow is like older than we are, it's been around for a very long time. I'm sorry, I should have done this ages ago. It's very, very good.
They were right.
Yes, they were right. Stow is magnificent. It's very, very. It's going to be one of those tools that I use that just has to be installed on every system. So yeah.
Yeah. I have to give it a try. And other folks recommend a lot this chezmoi, or however it's pronounced. Those two. They tell me to use one of the two. I haven't yet, but maybe someday I'll give it a try. Now, how did your home labbing continue? Did you ever continue with your home lab? What's the status of that?
I do have my home lab, but actually underneath this desk, I have. It's very funny. I have 4 computers on underneath this desk. I have my main one. I have a couple small Lenovo Think Centers, and then I have my big HP workstation, which houses Proxmox. And so I have Proxmox with a few virtual machines and a few LXC containers. And basically I run everything in Proxmox and Portainer and all that stuff. So yeah, I still have my home lab. I at the beginning, I was very much like, oh my goodness, look at all these Docker containers. I'm going to install everything. I'm going to self-host the world. And eventually that slowed down. Like some of it was just like, what do I actually need a pastebin of my own for? Like pastebin exists. Like I can just go use it. I use it like once or twice a year. I don't actually need to host this thing on myself. So I don't need my own pastebin. Maybe if you're a developer or whatever, that'd be really cool to have, but I'm not a developer. And I don't share code with anybody other than putting it on GitHub or GitLab. So eventually that slowed down, but every once in a while now I'll go find, like, I think the most recent thing that I installed was something called Glance. I'm going to make a video about that actually I have a video already made for it. All I got to do is edit it. And it's basically this homepage that you can set as your homepage on your browser, or new tab or whatever, and it can show you your bookmarks, it can show you the status of your Proxmox server, it can show you the status of your Docker containers, it'll show you like subreddit feeds that for Reddit, basically whatever you want. Now, it is configured with a YAML file, so if you're not if you're like me and you can't stand YAML, like it just, every time I hit one extra space, it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna freak out. Like it's just, I can't handle it. But anyways, it is configured that way. But it's very good, and I've enjoyed self-hosting. I don't think it's as useful as I'd hoped it to be. So there are some things. So I think the one thing I use the absolute most is the FreshRSS. I use RSS like crazy, and FreshRSS is amazing. Like I have hundreds of RSS feeds in that thing. I have it on my phone. I have it on my iPad when it's charged. I have it on my computer. I spend probably 2 or 3 hours a day in RSS because before bed or in the morning or whatever, I'll sit there, and it's basically my way of reading the news. Nobody's actually covering the news in the feeds I have, so I have no clue what's going on. But you get my point. That's the thing that I use the most. The thing that I built the server for was Plex. I don't use it nearly often as I should. So first off, I don't have a lot of time, so I can't watch movies and TV shows as much as I want. But when I do, I use Plex. The music is where I was really hoping for it to change my life at. Because I have a music library of something like 80 or 90 gigabytes. Like it's not like the biggest one you've ever going to see. Someone's going to tell you like, oh, I have 2 terabytes. Good job. But I mean, I have a fairly large thing, all going all the way back to the early 90s. I've been collecting these things from CDs and stuff, and they've all been digitized. The problem is that they all have really, really crappy metadata, like really, really bad. Now, I'm probably going to get you demonetized for this. You may want to in post edit this part out, but I got a lot of stuff from back in the early 2000s when I was in college. So, and if you've ever downloaded anything, you know, like that, you know that the metadata is shit. It is really, really bad. Sometimes it's not in English. Sometimes it's non-existent whatsoever. So it just says unknown. Sometimes it's completely wrong. So like I have some country music stuff. This is all exactly the same metadata. It all has the same song name, same artist. None of them are right. So the problem is, like, I have this entire music library. Hardly any of the music metadata is right. It's almost impossible to fix. Someone's going to say, well, Matt, you should use Beats or you should use MusicBrainz Picard. MusicBrainz Picard is just applications you can feed your library into, and it will supposedly go through from what it knows and try to fix all the metadata. I did that. It made it worse. It made it way, way worse. I guess so much better. All of a sudden now I have like 12 songs called Boy Named Sue from Johnny Cash. Like I don't even have that song, but I have 12 copies of it somehow. I don't understand. So it was really, really bad that I've never actually gotten Beats to work. So that's something to try some other time. But the point is that I have all this music. None of it's labeled. I shouldn't say none of it. A good part of it isn't labeled properly. And some of it's like in really old, like MP3, very low quality stuff. So if you're there jamming down to Breaking Benjamin or something like that, and it's like really, really good audio levels, and all of a sudden Shinedown comes on in the next song, and it's like half the volume.
Yeah.
So
half
you
the volume. You
so
can
you
use I remember using a program back in Windows many years ago to level the gain of the songs. Was a nightmare. Yeah.
So Plex has that built in. Plex has the ability to, but there's only so much leveling it can do. And it doesn't do a very good job. So the next one comes on, it's like really, really, you gotta crank the volume so you can hear it. And then the next one comes on and it's normal level, and all of a sudden, oh my God. You know what I mean? You gotta pull the headphones away from your ears because it's blowing your eardrums out. So my library, my goal of being able to get away from the streaming services, which was why I built the homelab to begin with, I call it a failure because I can't do it. There's only so many options. I can either go through artist by artist, song by song, fix the metadata, and make sure everything's the proper level, which would take me 10 years probably with that much music. Because despite what people will tell you, there's no real automatic way of doing it. Or I can delete everything and just go buy everything new. And I've considered that. But first off, it would take a lot of time because it's going to take a lot of money. There's a place online you can go buy used CDs. Like you used to be able to go into like Best Buy or whatever and buy a CD for like $10. Like, okay, $10, $9.99. It's great. It's brand. That was even like a new release, and then it eventually went up like $15.99. Reasonable price. I can pay that. Used CDs now sometimes go for $30 or $40 a piece, and I'm like, okay, no, I'm not paying that amount of money for a used CD. Like even a new CD, I'm not paying that amount of money for. I'm not doing it, and it's because a lot of these have become collector's items. It's crazy. Like,
and then you have to rip it, right? Then you have to. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't even mind doing, like, if it was a reasonable cost. Like if I could buy, 2 or 3 CDs a month. Just every month, replace everything with 2 or 3 CDs, $30 a month. I can afford that. Eventually, I would get done. But you can't buy for it's the cost. It's not like I've got some old like TV shows on DVD. I got a DVD player that will rip all this. It doesn't take very long. I can do that. It's not that big a deal. It was the money behind it that was the big deal. And I got a little bit of money, but I ain't going to go through and spend $100 a month on 3 CDs, in order to do it. It's just not, it's not that important. Not when I can, for $10 a month or $12 a month or whatever it is, get Deezer and have millions of songs available to me, and I can just play it, and it works with Last.fm. So I've started scrobbling all of my plays and then post all of that stuff on my blog. And so it works with that, and it just has all these songs. Like, despite I don't want to have to pay that much money every month. I don't want to have to give them my data and all the stuff that goes along with using a streaming service. But actually hosting your own is much harder and more time consuming and much more expensive than I expected it to be. So that part of it has definitely been a complete failure.
Yeah, I try to do that as well. Manage my own music, metadata. I went through all that and I just gave up. And now I just pay for Spotify. My wife has it. I have it. We have it on the Alexa in the living room. I don't care. I just pay for that. I don't even listen to music anymore, man. Do you listen to a lot of music? Because I don't even know what to listen. I'm tired of listening to music because I'm like, okay, so I'm bored of the songs. I don't want to hear the songs that I listen to all the time, but I'm not open to listening to new music. So I'm in a vicious cycle in which
you're in the old man cycle is what you're in.
Yeah, and I cannot escape it.
So I am older than you, but I haven't got there yet. So I have a very eclectic taste in music. So to answer your question, yes, I listen to a ton of music. I have music going on all the time, like constantly. So it's definitely worth it for me to pay for that kind of thing. But my music, the reason why I'm so okay with it, because my music taste is all over the place. So I like country music. I like hardcore metal and rock and roll and a little bit of R&B, and I like rap, and I'll listen to some classical music and jazz, and I'll listen to like every once in a while there's a few channels on YouTube where it plays lo-fi music. I'll go listen to that for a little while, even though I have no interest in that kind of music. It's soothing, so I'll listen to it. So I'm all over the place in terms of music. So I don't get tied down to. I do have a playlist of favorites. It's like 200 tracks long. It's just been compiled over the course of forever. And every once in a while I'll go listen to it, like just favorites or whatever. A lot of times I'll just pop on a mix or something that Deezer has recommended, and it will, how this last one that I was listening to had, I don't even remember where I started off. I don't remember what, like, you can click on a song and have it play the radio, basically. And it played some like 90s alternative, and then it ended up on Kelly Clarkson. Like, it was all over the place. And I really actually enjoy that. I mean, I couldn't tell you any of the songs that were actually played, but most of the time it's just in the background while I'm sitting there trying to figure out why this person in front of me wants to spell the word "the" wrong several times, and it just keeps me from banging my head against the wall while I'm trying to figure out why people don't know how to do regular grammar, when they can just use the spell checker. You know what I mean? So the music helps. It keeps the demons away.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like keeping music in the background as well, but I always tell Alexa, play classical music, and it always plays the same damn song, and I'm tired of it, so I just don't use it anymore. I'm like, whatever, I'm not gonna listen to anything. I don't like being in silence. I don't like it. I like having music in the background, but I don't know. I'm in a tough spot at the moment, man.
I mean, I don't know what type of music you end up listening to, but if you go to YouTube, a lot of times these places, there'll be channels or whatever that stream certain types of music, and that's a good way to have something in the background that doesn't have a lot of lyrics or whatever to it. It's just kind of like beats and tunes, and it fills the silence, but you don't have to go through and play the same thing over thing. I will agree with you that shuffle has sucked for decades, and it continues to suck. Like it will play Louis Capaldi 12 times. Like there's no. Like the first thing you do in basic computer science course, probably one of the first things you do, is write a random number generator. It's like 4 lines long, right? And depending on what language you're doing. I mean, if it's C, it's more like 30 lines long. But I don't even know that for a fact. I'm just throwing numbers out there. But anyways, one of the first things you do in beginner, like computer science 101, is write a random number generator. My random number generator, when I took that course, was better than any shuffle that has ever been invented. I don't. It can't be that hard. Literally, just look at the playlist, find out how many tracks there are. Then use your random number generator to split those things up and make sure that there's no numbers that are together actually together. Now, I'm not a developer, so maybe that's harder than it sounds. But to me, it sounds very easy not to put numbers in order. Like numbers can't be in order.
Yeah.
It feels like
make it a little bit more random. We're not demanding too much, but just don't play the same thing over and over.
Right. Well, and if you're playing a playlist of all the same artists, and then or maybe your playlist is only 6 tracks long, then it's more on the user, right? But if you have a track list of like 200, you should be able to listen for a few hours without hearing the same song. But even on YouTube, where if you have music playing on YouTube like all day long, you're going to hear the same song pop up at least 3 or 4 times. Like, how hard is it for YouTube to say, if you've played this song before, do not play it? Mm-hmm. I think it's not. That's an if statement, okay? like if played before, do not play, else play. There, I've written it for you. Like it's so obnoxiously stupid, and I don't know why they can't fix it. It's the silliest thing.
Yeah. Now, moving on to other topics. I wanted to ask you your thoughts because I have not seen that you have sponsorships on your video, like the usual 60-second ad, like Brilliant or, what other Notion, whatever. What are your thoughts on sponsorships?
So I would take them if they were offered to me, but they are not offered to me. It's not 100% true. So like I have a sponsor of Proton Mail. Like Proton Mail, and by sponsors, I mean that they've signed me up for their Premier program, which basically just gives me a higher percentage for people who sign up. They don't actually pay me anything unless someone signs up. I still don't use it. I've thought about putting like an ad in front of the podcast. I think that most people would be okay with it. And maybe I will end up doing that. But for the most part, I don't get offered them. I don't go searching for them. And when you put your YouTube email on your channel, and you get any subscribers at all, like if you have 2 subscribers, you're automatically going to get at least 1 email for something stupid that says they're a sponsor or they want to do a paid collaboration. 95% of them are scams, and I've never been good at figuring out which ones are scams, so I just assume that they all are. So the only reason I have the Proton one was because I was able to figure out that the person sending it to me actually worked for Proton, And I did a ton of research before I messaged them back. Usually I just delete them things, and I get probably 60 a day. And the stupid thing about it is that they always use a different email address. So you add one to spam. It doesn't matter if you add it to spam. They're just going to use a different email address, and it's still going to come through your inbox. So I've put in filters inside of my email program to try to, anytime it says collaboration, I just automatically move it to a different folder, which has probably ruined some relationships with YouTubers.
I think I sent you an email. I think I did.
So that's probably, if you use the word collaboration, you probably ended up in my spam folder. There's no real way around that, because that's like the word that they'll use is collaboration. Like I'm Mr. Beast or something. Like why would you want to collaborate with someone who has 67? I will tell you this though. I had a really big old wooden desk for a long time, and I needed a new desk. My biggest regret ever is not reaching out to a desk company, because if you go on YouTube and watch like desk setup videos, all of them have contacted desk setup companies, and all of them, some of them are like 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers total. Like, why didn't I do that? I paid $1,000 for my desk. If I went to the company that made this desk and said, "Hey, I'll make a sponsored video if you just give me the desk,"
but you have to make a 10-minute long video. What is your audience gonna think? They're gonna call you a sellout.
I don't care. Like I don't care. I would have happily taken their desk. and I have no morals whatsoever. I am very cheap. Just give me the desk. I will say it could be the worst desk in the history of the world. If it's free, I'm happy about it. I'll say good things. It's not actually true because someone did send me this Linux phone. This thing is like it's called I don't know how it's called. Anyways. I wanted to make a video about it. It has really good hardware, really crap software. It's called the FuriPhone, I think.
Furry, like your audience, like furry, like.
No, I think it's more the kind you're thinking of. Yeah. Anyways, that's what they call it. It was the FURI, FuriPhone.
Oh, okay. I thought with 2 R's, but just 1 R. Okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's a crap name, but they sent it to me like back in, I don't know, October of last year, and in expectations that I would make a review. And I was right up front with them, say, hey, yeah, you can send this to me, which is, first off, it was a little nerve-wracking because I don't have a post office box. I actually had to give them my actual address. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to get killed. Definitely. That was definitely a serial killer. But, someone's going to send me for something.
A NixOS, this, a mad user. Yep.
Yeah, they're coming after me. But anyway, so they sent me this thing, and I didn't actually end up making the review on it. Because I couldn't in good conscience. They sent it to me for free, and this thing is so bad that I would felt bad. And the thing is, like, it's not even their fault that it's bad. It's just Linux on mobile is crap. It's garbage. It's like it's not good. And I mean, they've been working on it for 20 years. It's never going to be good. So, I couldn't make that review. But anyways, the point is I will take free things if they wanted to send it to me, but I just don't get those kind of offers. I regret the desks thing immensely because there's obviously companies out there that will look at someone who says I'm a YouTuber. They won't look at the subscriber count or the amount of views that they get. They'll just send them a desk, like $1,000 desk. They're going to send it to them. And like, why didn't I do that? Like that would have been great.
I've been waiting on BenQ because I have seen, other YouTubers talk about BenQ monitors. BenQ, if you're watching this, I want a monitor and I will talk about it in a video. I think Matt as well, because they offer like a 4K monitor. Have you seen that in some videos?
Yeah, I would happily take a new monitor. Yes, I would also talk if any keyboard company out there,
oh yeah,
no matter what crappy keyboard you sell, wants to give me a keyboard, I will take it because I love keyboards. Like right now, I would happily take all the keyboards. I mean, I make videos about all of them, but some of them I definitely will. I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel about keyboards, and if someone wanted to send me like a starter kit of like, I don't know, 10 keyboards, I have 10 videos ready to make. Like I'd be there for it. It'd be grand. Unfortunately, those guys do look at the subscriber count, so you have to be pretty big in order to actually get those things for free. Unfortunately, because keyboards are heavy.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive. Which keyboard do you use, by the way? Which one are you using at the moment?
So I have a Dactyl Manuform, and it is. I will actually, if I can, I will try to get it up on camera for you so that you can actually see. Give me just 1 second.
All right.
Yeah. It is an amazing keyboard that was entirely too expensive. So
let me know when I can switch to your screen. You're gonna show it on your screen, or?
Yeah, you can actually see it right here.
Let's see. Oh, I have seen that one. Okay.
Yeah, that's not the exact one that I have. It's from the internet, but it's very close. It was obnoxiously expensive. Just the keyboard itself, without any switches or keys, was $500. And then I added
switches.
Yeah, no switches. Yeah,
are they hot
switches.
swappable? The switches.
Yeah, they're hot switches. Yep. You can just plug them right in. Yeah, it's yeah. If it had been soldered, I probably wouldn't have got it. I've soldered a little bit in the past. My soldering's not great, mainly because of the big man hands. And you got to be very precise with that kind of stuff, and I'm just not that precise. But yeah, they're hot swappable, and I've switched them several times. So I've probably put close to $1,000 into this one keyboard. The problem isn't even that. I have a keyboard. I collect keyboards. So I have probably within this room and then the room over, I probably have 50 keyboards. And I've spent tens of thousands of dollars over the course of the last 20 years on keyboards. Now, unfortunately, I don't have them well displayed, and they're not in very good condition because I'm a user of keyboards.
Mhm.
So if I buy it, I'm going to use it. And the problem is I'm also not very good at storing things together. So I have Ziploc bag after Ziploc bag of keycaps.
Mhm.
They're all mixed together. Like none of them, they're not by set, and they're not by layout or form factor or any of that stuff. They're just all mixed together, so that's not good. And then they, you know, I have probably the same thing with all the switches. Like I probably have, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4, maybe 5,000 switches within my house somewhere, you know, different kinds, because I've tried all of them and, you know, whatever. Now it has slowed down. So since I've gotten this keyboard, it's slowed down. I haven't bought a keyboard in over a year, which I think is great. I used to like buy one every few months. It was insane. Not because I necessarily even wanted to use it. It was just like, oh my God, that looks cool, I'm gonna buy it. But since I got this one, it's great. Like I have no interest whatsoever in going and getting another one. Like I've seen some other ones. I've thought about buying another one of these when I had the Mac set up, and I thought I was going to be using Mac for a good portion of my day to edit videos and stuff. I didn't want to use the Alice layout actually. It's within reach. That's funny. Like it isn't. It's within reach. Yeah, like you guys think that I'm kidding when I have a keyboard addiction. That I actually have. Actually, there's more. There's more. I won't get all of them, but anyways, I had this over on the Mac, but and the Alice layout is fine. I like it a lot. It's the first. If you are looking to get into a split keyboard, an Alice layout is a great way because it's very close to a regular layout, but a little bit apart. So it gets you used to using 2 halves of the board without having to deal with things like tenting, things like positioning of the 2 halves and stuff like that. This is set. You can learn on that, figure out how to, you know, get your hands there. And then you can move. So my first split keyboard was a Moonlander.
Oh, how was that? Did you like it?
It was atrocious. It was atrocious because it was horrible.
Why?
And it wasn't even because the keyboard itself was bad. It's just because it was my first experience with a split keyboard, and that one is obnoxious in when it comes to trying to get it in the right position. You have to deal with the height and the angle and all of this stuff, right? And I could never get it comfortable. Like I could just not get it. I was like 10 words a minute by the time I sold it to a friend.
You remember
I was like,
if it was difficult to type the B as in boy, and the N, which are on the bottom corner. You remember? Because I had a tough time with those.
Oh, yeah. So on this Alice layout that I showed you, I have B on both sides. Like the very last column in the middle, I have B on both sides because sometimes I have the stupidest keyboard, I have stupidest typing layout ever. Sometimes I hit the B with my left hand. Sometimes I hit the B with my right hand. You never know what it's going to be. So I had to have it in both places. Now, with the actual split keyboard with the Dactyl, I don't have that problem. So I was able to use the one on the left side for something else. But on the Alice, when I first started it, yeah, I had to have that in both places. And it's even worse because on the Dactyl, when I first got it, my biggest problem was that I had... like you have to like really curl your index finger on your right side to get to the period, right? Because it's really far down there and it was very uncomfortable. So what I did was I moved the period key up here. You know, so basically it's on a row above. And it's worked really, really well on the split. But every time I go to my laptop, where it's just a regular QWERTY keyboard, I'm pressing. Yeah, it just messes with my mind. So I'm actually much faster on a split keyboard now than I used to because I've made those changes. And like the one that you're seeing on screen right now is actually worse because it has fewer keys than mine does. Mine has 6 rows instead of 4 rows. So actually have an extra row there. Now I've thought about this. When I first bought it, I had no clue what the thumb cluster really needed to be. So I bought just 3 on each side. Where I bought it was able to have 6 on each side, like what you're seeing there. That has 6 on each side.
Uh-huh.
And that would have been amazing. I would love to have that, and I will probably one day with like a tax refund or something, buy me a new Dactyl with the six in the thumb cluster on each side. Mainly because the way I have with only 3, I can only have the super key on one side. The other one has to have shift and enter and all the stuff because I ran out of keys. Now I tried to do the like different layers and stuff like that, and it works for some things, but when you have the so for example, in the middle on the left hand side, I have the enter key. It's a little bit different in this one because, like I said, I only have 3, but the middle key on the left hand side I have set to space. And in the software, you can set it so that if you hold down the key just long enough, right, you can set it to something else. So I set that to the super key, which I use all the time. But the problem is, like, I can never quite get that timing right. So every once in a while, I'd accidentally press a key binding when I was just meaning to put a space in there. So I haven't been able to quite get that down there. So if the next time I do end up buying a new keyboard, which I'm eventually going to fall off the wagon, it'll probably just be another one of these, but with the 6 clusters. Now, the place that printed mine has a keyboard that is very tempting. It's basically this, but instead of it being just uniform for everybody, they take pictures of your hands and they customize the curve of the keyboard to your hands. Plus, you can get it so that it has a trackball on both sides. And oh goodness, do I want that so bad. If I had that, I would be so very happy. But it is. This one was expensive. That one was way off the price range. It's like well over $1,000 by the time I was done pricing it out. So basically just picture what you're seeing on screen, but with a trackball on each side.
Man, you know which one I purchased if you look at my screen. Well, I pre-order it because it's not out yet. This is the one that I'm using right now, the Glove 80, right? It's been great, but I'm using too few keys. It has 80 keys and I'm just using 40. So one day I was just, in my Discord, someone showed up in the Discord and told me, hey, you were looking for a Corne that is flat. So this is not expensive, half the price because it's a prototype. It's not out yet. And it's really flat. It's just 42 keys. Yeah, 42 keys, I think, But that's what I'm using right now, just 42 keys. But look at it. It's beautiful. This is the regular sized Corne. Too big for me, right?
I have it.
You have it? The Corne?
It's not that exact one, but yeah, I have a Corne keyboard. So I use all of my keys is my problem. Like I actually don't think I have enough keys. So I just told you that I wanted 3 more on each cluster. Because I love the thing about Linux, and especially in like Vim and stuff, this, you're a Vim user, key bindings are everything, right?
Yep.
And the more keys you have, the more key bindings you can use. Now, obviously, you can get creative with key chords and all sorts of stuff, So if you don't have as many keys as you need, you can do that. But I like having a dedicated key for everything. So the more keys, the better for me. And so I have the Corne. It's the best sounding keyboard I have because it's made with a stainless steel base. So it sounds thocky like crazy. If you're in the keyboard community, you know what the word thocky means. Not actually a word I'm pretty sure. But anyways, it sounds spectacular. Like I had it on a key. I had it. It kind of sounds like this one, but not quite as good. I had it on my desk for a little while just so I could every once in a while reach over and press a few keys just to hear it. That's how good it sounded. I was never able to quite get used to it because it didn't have enough keys, and there was so much stuff that had to go on other layers, and I've never been good at layers, like ever. I'm assuming that if I put enough time and effort into it, I could get used to using layers, but I haven't yet. And it's kind of like the time I switched to Dvorak or Colmac and trying to do those. I never really gave it enough time to, filter into the brain hole.
What are you on right now? QWERTY?
QWERTY, yeah. I'm probably gonna be on QWERTY until I die. I got the best at Dvorak. I got up to like 30 words per minute on Dvorak, which is serviceable. My biggest problem with all the alternative keyboard layouts is that at least most of them, some of them are different. Like there's a Colmac version that keeps the copy and paste keys where they are, like on QWERTY, which is good. But every other layout moves C and V. Like one has C over here, V over on the other side, and I use copy and paste all the time, like literally probably thousands of times a day. And moving those key bindings was nuts. And also, once you get used to H, J, K, and L being in
Where they
those
are, yep.
spots, trying to get those in a different place is horrendously confusing to your mind. And you can get into Vim and like remap those to whatever the key layout has in those positions. So like with Dvorak, I think it's something like EI. No, it's if I can remember this, it's like NT. I don't remember. I can't remember. But anyways, it's something really weird. I did remap Vim to those letters so that the basically it was just took the place of H, J, K, and L. Still messed with my mind because I was still expecting H, J, K, and L all the time. And it's just because I use H, J, K, and L everywhere. Like I've built it into my browser.
Yeah.
It's
that's the thing. You don't use it only on Neovim, and that's something that I tell everyone. I use it everywhere on Mac because there's an app that allows you to use emotions on any app, even Slack, Discord, email, doesn't matter. So if you remap it on Vim, you're going to be good there, but not everywhere else on your system. And that's going to be a problem, right?
Yeah. Because you're right. You just put it got it in the browser. I've spent the last week and a half trying to get Emacs to function exactly like Neovim. Like that's my point is like, so this whole Emacs thing, if you want, you can actually here in a second, you can put you can switch to the screen, show my screen here. This is my version of Emacs, and it is this is exactly what my Neovim looks like actually. The only difference is there's all these like .el things there in the recent files. It's because I've been messing around with the configuration all the time, and so I've spent this entire time getting my Emacs to function exactly like Neovim, like in every way possible. And I've succeeded. I've really succeeded. Like every Vim binding you can imagine is in this. So so the reason why I'm in this, like I'm a big Vim guy. Like I have a hat over that says I love Vim. I'm that big of a Vim fanboy, and it's really hard to pry Vim out of my hands, even though I've tried multiple times to try other things just for content reasons. But on my Discord, there's a guy named Darth Vader. I should have known better than to get, move to the dark side. But he was saying bad things about OpenSUSE. And OpenSUSE is like a distro that I'm really, really, happy to have used for 2 years. And I'm very proud of it. And I like it. And I like other people to like it. And he was talking crap about OpenSUSE. So me and my big mouth decided to challenge him to use OpenSUSE for 2 years. And he said, sure, as long as you use Emacs for 2 years. Now, I have used Emacs many times in the past. Every single time I've said, this is stupid. I don't want to use it anymore because it's stupid. Everything in this program here is a key binding. So if I do like meta X, you're going to see all this stuff. If I do control X or whatever, it's going to show you a whole bunch of extra things you can press. You can't learn all of that nonsense. No, Emacs users, you'll learn a few of those things. The vast majority of times, you're going to need this little cheat sheet that shows up there at the bottom, and whatever. So, my big mouth is like, you got to use OpenSUSE, and I'm going to use Emacs, and so like. Fine, I'm going to win this thing. So first off, I have an advantage. He's never used a distro for 2 years ever, as far as I know. He always hops off from them eventually. So I have that advantage. But also, I'm a big fat cheater because I went through and made this as close to Vim as I possibly could. And I've succeeded. And like you can even see there, welcome, Matt. This is hell. Remember, Vim is better.
I read that.
Put that up there. So I just got to put that up there. So I've had fun doing that to the point where like I have my, before I modularized my Emacs config, it was like almost 1,000 lines long. It was crazy because I did almost everything by hand. And when I say everything by hand, I mean I went and stole everything by hand from as many people online as I possibly could. So because other people have done this before me, I just basically took the parts that I needed.
Steals from everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. That's how I cheated. I'm using Vanilla Emacs, and it even says GNU Emacs right up there at the top. So anybody who's questioning that this isn't actually Emacs, it is actually Emacs. But the problem is that it functions exactly like Vim for me. So I'm cheating, and I will win that bet. Like I will happily gloat for the next 10 years in his face when he eventually fails at OpenSUSE, because he's already complaining about how OpenSUSE is a useless distro and how it's the worst distro he's ever used. And we're only like 10 days in. There's no way he's making it 2 years. I wrote this on my blog. I will actually be mad now if he comes to me like tomorrow and says he's hopping off OpenSUSE, because that means the challenge is over. I've spent like every free moment for the last 10 days outside of work and away from family configuring this thing
to
the way I want it, right?
Yeah.
If he comes tomorrow and says he's failing, I'm going to be so pissed off because I put all this work in. And I'll let you know a secret. Because it acts so much like Vim, I could use it forever because it's just Vim for me. Now, people are going to like, Matt, why don't you use org mode? I don't need any org mode stuff. Just keep that to yourself. I don't need it. I have Markdown. It's perfectly
why not
fine.
org mode?
Once you get into org mode, it's kind of like Home Manager on NixOS. Once you put your stuff in there, it's hard to get it out. Like you can go through and write all of your configs in org mode and stuff like that. But then what are you going to do if you just decide to use Vim again? All of your stuff's in org mode. You can't actually get that stuff out there without doing something, going to Emacs, translating it all to whatever it's supposed to be, and then moving on. It adds an extra step. And all of my work is done in Markdown, basically. So why would I add, like someone in my Discord was arguing with me, like you should use org mode. Like, why would I want to do that? I'd have to learn something new just to translate something to Markdown, which I already know. It'd be like learning C, but it'd be like learning C and then translating everything over into Python that you already know. Like it'd be silly. I mean, there'd be no reason to do something like that. So I have no interest in Markdown or org mode. It just it's like a walled garden that it would be sealing me into, and I have no interest in doing that. So that's
so all of your notes are in Markdown. Then did you start with Markdown? Because I started with Google Docs, and I'm talking about 20 years ago. Google Docs. Okay. I took a lot of notes, thousands of, pages of different Google Docs documents. I don't even look at them right now. I didn't migrate them to Markdown. They're still in Google, but then I moved to Markdown. So did you start with Markdown?
No. Most of my notes actually started in Google Keep. And
I use that as well.
So Google Keep was my place. And yeah, it supports, I think it supports Markdown. Maybe it just started it. I don't even know. But so the vast majority of my note takings happens on my phone, or at least it did. And for years, it was just Google Keep, because Google Keep would sync to my Google account. I could get it was everywhere. If I needed to take a snippet or a copy and paste something, I just pop it in there and it'd sync everywhere, right? And it was great, but I hate relying on Google for things because eventually they're going to kill Keep, and obviously Google has all the privacy stuff that goes along with it and stuff like that. So I've been on a constant lookout for a note-taking solution that works for me, and I this last few months I found one. So I have Obsidian on my desktop, and I have Nextcloud on my desktop. My vault resides in my Nextcloud directory. So it gets synced with Nextcloud. And on Android, there's an application called QuillPad. I believe it's just one word. It's one word, QUILLPAD. And it is basically Google Keep. It's exactly like Google Keep. So that connects to my Nextcloud Obsidian vault, and they sync back and forth between each other, and that's how I've been keeping notes. It has been spectacular. It has been so good. So because the application on the Android is so similar to Google Keep, I haven't really noticed a big difference between thing. I was using a self-hosted application called Memos for a while. That's also very much like Google Keep. The problem is it doesn't, as far as I know, it does not have an application. Someone told me that it does. I never actually found it. So you had to use a progressive web app in order to actually use that. So QuillPad is much better. I do have my qualms with Nextcloud, but it works fairly well for small text files. It doesn't work very well for bigger files because of other stupid reasons. But this setup has worked fantastically well. All of my stuff from Google Keep now has been moved over. That was a pain in the ass. Like that was not fun.
Yeah.
Granted, I didn't move everything over that. Something like I didn't need grocery lists from 20 years ago. That stuff got deleted. But like I had like a novel idea from like high school or whatever. I wanted to keep that. I don't think I'm ever going to write the novel, but it was cool that I had the idea, so I wanted to keep that. And so I had a whole bunch of stuff like that I had to move over. And basically, that was a manual process. It was it was not a good thing. Now they will let you export your data, but it's in like a mixture of XML and JSON, and theoretically I could like vibe code like a script or whatever to pull all the stuff out, I suppose, but by the time I got to figuring that out and stuff, it was just easier just to go through the stuff and organize it the way I needed it to do anyway. So yeah, that's where my note-taking situation is right now. I'm on this my next I'm on like a scripting like extravaganza or something right now. I've written a whole bunch of scripts lately for specifically for my blog, but I want to do one for notes. I'm still going to use this setup that I have, but I would love to be able to have like a Rofi script, like that thing you have popped up earlier on your screen, but only for like it is like a menu selector thing, kind of like Alfred on the Mac or whatever it's called, right? But you pop that up and it will show you an option, say new notes, and it'll let you type the note and it will just kind of save in a file, and that will sync to my phone. I'm going to script that. It's going to be awesome. That's my next scripting opportunity. So that's going to be good.
With your current note setup, do you ever get scared of, deleting part of a note? And I guess you don't have them in version control, right? So you cannot go back to a previous state on that note. Or do you also keep them in, GitLab or whatever?
No, they're just in Nextcloud. But Nextcloud does, if you're in some things at least, if it's in the notes directory, does keep versions. So if you want to go through and go back to a certain version, you can do that. Now, it doesn't apply to everything that's in your Nextcloud directory, because that would like take a ton of space. But the notes directory, it does keep a a series of like a historical thing for you. I don't use it that often. I think I've switched note-taking solutions so much because I've wanted to get off Keep for so many years. I've moved back and forth so many times. I think I've lost so many notes that I'm immune to feeling bad about it.
Oh,
so if I were to delete one, it's not that big a deal.
Okay.
And it's not like I'm putting rocket science in there. If I lose something, eventually the thought will filter through my brain again, and I'll just make the note again. So yeah, eventually, it won't be that big of a deal. Probably I do have I do backups of my Nextcloud folders too, like to Borg. Mm-hmm. So chances are, as long as that thing's still running, I have a backup of it somewhere too. So.
Oh, okay. I used Obsidian for quite some time as well. I loved it, but ever since I moved to Neovim, I view images, I paste images in Neovim. I basically do everything in Neovim nowadays. So I just moved away from Obsidian. What is it that you love about Obsidian so much? Is it all the plugins? It's fast, right?
I like the plugins. I think it's so. When I first got introduced to Obsidian, my biggest problem was that I don't want all of my stuff in one vault. And you can't have two vaults open in the same window at the same time with Obsidian, which always drove me nuts. But eventually I got over myself and just put everything in one vault and just used a whole bunch of directories for stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think what I like about it is simply that it's the best Markdown editor I think I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Like, it does a fantastic job with Markdown. Like, you can get other ones that are very close to that, but it just does a really good job of doing solid, pure Markdown. So, like, for example, there's an application for Vim called VimWiki. right? And VimWiki, I used it for a long time with notes, but it doesn't use pure Markdown. It uses its own little brand of Markdown. So like headers are different, right? And for years, I also used something called ZimWiki, which is like a graphical version of VimWiki. It too uses its own version of Markdown, which means when you go to use a Markdown application, all of those things are wrong.
Yep.
So I just wanted an application that just did Markdown really, really well, and Obsidian does that. And then you add in a whole bunch of the other things like the plugins and like, so like I have a habit tracker in there that works really well. I really love the daily notes thing where it will basically create the daily note for you and just pops up every time you open it up, and you can just go do your daily thoughts or whatever you're going to journal or whatever, you know. I've been basically tracking everything I've been doing lately so I can blog about it, because I'm a blogger now all of a sudden. You can basically just write down everything you have in there. There's a plugin that allows you to do a key binding that will put in the exact time of that key binding, so like you can kind of keep track of your time throughout the day. Really cool. And also there's I have also like a word counter, so I'll count how many words I've written that day. Not very many lately, but that's really cool. So I really do like those plugins. And also the UI is really cool. I mean, I really do. I like the UI, so it's good stuff.
The UI is good. What about the data view? Because that's one of the things that I did not use in Obsidian, the data view.
Talking
plugin.
Like the map thing?
No. There's like a database that it has in which you can pull up data from other nodes and create like tables, and I don't know. It's something.
Oh, you're talking about bases.
No. Data view is what it's called.
Okay, because they're coming out with something like Notion has with like the database stuff in Notion. Those are called bases. So I'm not quite sure what you're actually talking about. I don't use it, obviously.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
The only thing I use I have a couple canvas things basically that I've created for tracking and stuff, but that's about as far as I've gotten it. Otherwise, I just use.
This is the one that I'm talking about. Hold on. How can I zoom in? Oh, leave it like that. So you just specify this like in a code block data view, and you type a query, right? And it's just gonna query all the different nodes, table, and it's just gonna show the different rows from games, sorting, and all that stuff. So, and then it displays it this way, organized in your Obsidian file. So this is gonna produce this. I didn't use it because it's not gonna be compatible if I leave Obsidian. So I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts on it or not. But you don't use it.
I have something similar for tracking, but it doesn't use that view. It uses I probably can't show it because it probably has some other stuff. But I have a canvas in there that has something very similar. It uses that same nomenclature it has the 3 ticks or whatever, and then whatever for that. And what that does is it shows a calendar for tracking. So it does something kind of like that without the table stuff. I do have something like that called it may be called Dashboard or something like that. I know I installed it from like a YouTuber who was telling people what the best plugins to download. I downloaded like all the plugins. I just haven't used it. So the thing is, like, I do well with note taking if the note taking solution is pretty simple. It's when I start adding in complexities that kind of gets. Now I've added some complexity to mine, like I've added the word counter, I've added the tracking stuff, but as long as I don't add more stuff to it, I feel like this is the best solution for me. If I were to add in all this extra stuff, and I don't know that I would. So like I have Notion. Notion has all this stuff. Like it has like databases, and you can link between notes, and Obsidian does that, right? But I don't use it because if I did that, like I did in Notion, I just ignore it. Like it's just too complex. It becomes a job. I have to start managing and organizing stuff. I don't like when I get into the QuillPad thing, I just write the note and leave behind. Most of the time, I don't put it in a notebook. It's like the directory. It's just in there somewhere, and eventually I'll go into Obsidian and move things where it needs to go. But it's just like I want it to be like my memory is horrendous. If I don't get in the note like right away, it's gone. Like it's immediately gone. So it has to be something that's like very quick, very quick. Otherwise, it's gone.
Yeah, if you ever decide to give Neovim a try, it does have the same syntax that Obsidian, depending on the plugin that you install. I installed an LSP, it's called Marksman. So at least the linking of the nodes works quite well, right? So if I GD here, it's gonna take me to the other nodes and I can go back, So, oh, hold on, Control O, can go back to the other node. So I just opened my Obsidian Bolt actually in Neovim, and I just implemented the stuff that I needed or that I missed from Obsidian. So if I open this file in Obsidian, it's gonna be the exact same thing. It's gonna work the exact same way than in Neovim, because I wanted to keep that compatibility that you mentioned actually.
Oops, I went to the wrong thing. I have mine set up almost exactly the same way in Neovim. I don't use Marksman. I think I use something very similar. It doesn't have the linking capabilities, but at least shows like the markdown in a similar way. Now, actually, it's probably a good thing that I wasn't able to show you, because if I went into Neovim, I'd regret my time in Emacs. So, but yeah, I have something very similar to that. But I don't get into my notes very often there. Most of the time, it's for other Markdown things that I do, because I actually use Obsidian for other Markdown stuff, or at least I did before I got into the Emacs thing. So, yeah.
Okay. How much time do you have left? I think you have to run, right?
Yeah, we're a little over, but that's okay.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about browsers as well, because
go ahead, ask your questions. I'm gonna go and do it.
I moved from, what was I using? Chrome. Then from Chrome, I went to, it's been Chrome, but I tried Vivaldi, right? I used Vivaldi for a few months. It had an issue with WhatsApp because I use PWAs a lot. For WhatsApp, I use PWAs, and the reason is because I can switch to those applications. Like YouTube, I use a PWA because I like switching to each one of my apps with a shortcut, right? But Vivaldi had an issue with WhatsApp. I could not download files from the PWA. So I got tired of it and I just went back to Brave. I'm on Brave now, right? So what has your experience been with browsers?
Vivaldi is the only good browser. That's my experience. Brave, you can turn the crypto nonsense off, but it's still there. And I have really no interest in crypto nonsense. So it's just too Chrome for me. Like, it looks exactly like Chrome does, and I don't want. If I wanted to use Chrome, I'd just use Chrome. So Brave was out for me. Firefox is just like,
yeah. Who uses Firefox?
Like, I want to use Firefox. It's free and it's open source, and it fits right in with the whole Linux thing. And it's great. But Mozilla is like, they're the worst stewards of a browser ever. They don't put any effort into it. It's not great. Edge and Chrome, I was never going to use those anyways, right? Vivaldi, my thing about Vivaldi is that I have, at least at one point, I was a tab hoarder. At one point, I had like thousands of tabs open all the time. Some of them were like years old. Now, I'm not there anymore. I'm reformed. I went to a group or anything. So right now I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tabs open, which isn't, not bad.
That's a
right?
huge progress. Yeah.
I'm very proud of myself. Like, so one of the main features of Vivaldi is it has really great workspaces, so you can kind of organize things. So I was a very organized tab hoarder. Like, everything was in its proper place. It was categorized. It was in tab stacks and everything where it needed to go. So at one point, all of this stuff was there. Now I don't even use workspaces very much anymore. I like, if I need to show something on camera and I don't want to show all my regular tabs, I'll do it. But right now I'm just using one workspace. Now, the feature that keeps me on Vivaldi is something called tab stacks. It's basically a tab groups, but the way they do it in the UI, where it's actually it becomes like a multi row tab stack. Mm-hmm. It's really, really good. And like right now I'm learning Rust, so I can't actually show you this because you get a double video or whatever, but I have a tab stack of all the Rust things that I'm doing, trying to learn in a tab stack. It's just grouped there, and it can stay there forever. It will reopen when I reopen the browser. And other browsers do have groups. They just don't do them as well as Vivaldi does. Add in all the other little things about Vivaldi that I like, the UI, the ability to move the UI around so that it is customized the way I want it to. Because sometimes I'll feel in a feisty mood and I'll put the address bar at the bottom. Sometimes I want it at the top. Sometimes I want tabs along the side. Sometimes I want them at the bottom. Sometimes I want them off altogether. Now, you can do that in Firefox. You have to use CSS to do it. I don't want to have to do that. I want to have it automatic. It's in settings. With Vivaldi, I can do that. It's very, very easy. If I want to have the bookmarks bar on the bottom, it's just a checkbox in the settings. It's very, very easy. So I like the UI fluidity. There are some Firefox forks like Florp that allow you to do something similar. They're trying to emulate Vivaldi, but they just don't do as good of a job yet. And they all have this really weird way of doing workspaces. Like on Vivaldi, when I use a workspace and I open up another window of Vivaldi, I can go to that workspace in any instance of the browser I want. It'll have the same tabs. Now, you can only have it open in one instance at a time, so it will tell you it's open in another window. In every other browser that does workspaces, for whatever reason, the workspaces are very specific to that instance. So if you were to open up another version of the Zen browser, for example, you could go to the workspace, other workspaces you created, but the tabs wouldn't actually be there. Those are specific to that other client. And that's just not the way workspaces for me are supposed to work. So switching to another browser is basically at this point something that I sometimes dream of because I want to use an open source browser and Vivaldi's not. It's they what do they call it? They call it they call it, it's not, they use a really weird term for it. They use, I'm forgetting, but basically it's source available. That's what they call it. They call it source available. So you can go look at their code. You just can't do anything with it, right? So I'd much rather it be open source, but it's just so good. I can't leave it behind. So yeah, Vivaldi is the only good browser. And if you're a tab hoarder, there really are no other browsers you should be using. Like, you should use Vivaldi. It's just the best one. You can go through and organize the workspaces in addition to tab groups. It's like having two different versions of tab groups. It's like having subfolders, basically, is what I'm talking about.
And you use vertical tabs, right? Or horizontal?
Oh, hell no.
No?
Like, every once in a while, I'll try it because, it looks cool. But then I'm like, no. Even in my reformed state, where I don't have nearly as many tabs open,
but it keeps things organized and you have a lot of space. Just look at how much
I
space.
know, and it looks so good, but it just doesn't work at all.
It does.
It really doesn't. Maybe I'm brave. Like, you can you hover over those and have it expand like that? Is that how that works?
What do you mean?
You were like, when you go over to that side, do you have to press a button in order to get to expand?
No, or is it just hover over it and it shows that little card.
Yeah. See, on Vivaldi, there's no way to actually get that to expand. You actually have to click and drag in order to get the whole title up there, or you have to hover. You hover and it will show you a little card, like it's showing you there. But on Vivaldi, you can't get it to show the whole tab. It just shows just the icon, or you have to drag it out like you're
expand this. You mean make this?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Exactly. You have to do that in order to get to show everything. So maybe that's just the browser. Vivaldi just doesn't do them as well. Maybe if I could hover over them and so I can actually see what it is. Because sometimes I have 4 or 5 YouTube tabs open. Like sometimes in the Rust tab group, for example, I have 3 Rust videos open. And if I were to just have just the icons layer along the side, I just have 3 YouTube icons. And in order to find the one I want, I have to go over there and hover instead of just going immediately to it. So it adds a level of resistance to my workflow that I just can't get over, despite the fact that they look amazing. I would love to have them over there. And every once in a while, I will put them over there, but it usually lasts about a half an hour. And then I go back to either top or bottom. Top or bottom is usually where the tabs are. Right now, they're along the bottom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I got used to Neovim because my files are, everything is done vertically in Neovim. Tmux sessions, everything is vertical. Files in Neovim, vertical. So I wanted to have my tabs the same way because I got used to looking at things vertically. I don't use tabs in Neovim. I don't use tabs. I don't use Emacs windows, so which are like tabs, we could say. You use tabs on your terminal, right?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah, you're a big tab user.
I use tabs everywhere. So if actually you switch to my screen here, you can see my Emacs config. Well, there along the top, it has a tab.
Okay.
And so like if I go over there and I press Control T, you can actually it opens up another tab. So if I I open up my config, one of my Nix files here, I can actually switch back and forth between the tabs, and whatever. The dashboard goes away once you go away from it, but that's just a Emacs quirk. But anyways, I can switch back and forth between different browsers. It's better than having like a vertical split. You know what I mean?
So you love tabs, actually. If I switch to mine, you're gonna notice that if I want to see which files I have open, you cannot see. I cannot see. I just know that I have 4 files open, right? 4 buffers that are open because of the number that I put here, right? 4. But if I actually want to see them, I bring this up, and here they are, right? The 4 different files. So it's always vertical for me. I just got used to this vertical.
Okay, switch back to mine. I'll show you, because in Emacs you can actually do the same thing. So if I do leader key B, you can actually see I have basically the same thing. It shows all of my buffers, and I can go to I got another whole thing here, and it would show the thing, and so I have both, but I do like to have multiple things open at the same time. It's just the way that I've always worked, and in Vim I have it set up exactly the same way. Even with the same key bindings, I told you I recreated Neovim in Emacs. That's exactly what it is. Now people will ask, well, why didn't you just use Doom Emacs? Doom Emacs did this for me, but one of the rules of the bet was that I couldn't use a fork. I had to start from vanilla. So that's the reason why I've done this.
So he played you dirty. The other guy played you dirty, right?
That's why I'm going to win. I'm in this game to win. I will beat him. And it's not even a question. It's just a matter of time before he comes crawling and says, well, I got to go back to Nix, or I got to go to Arch or Ubuntu. It'll be some distro, because he'll find some package or whatever that isn't in the open build service, and he'll have to move away. So yeah, I'm going to win. I'm definitely going to win.
Have you used any of these new IDEs, the AI related stuff like Cursor or Windsurf, or what is another one? I don't know, but have you used any of those?
No. I do a little bit of AI stuff. Usually I use it for tech support. Recently I've been using it for figuring out how to do like the Emacs stuff. But when I need AI stuff, I just go to Claude in a web tab. The only AI I've ever installed on my computer is called Whisper, and that allows you to basically transcribe videos. Like if you wanted like the transcript for this video, you could run it through Whisper and it would give you all the transcription. It's cool, but it took forever. It also set my computer on fire. Like it exploded. Luckily I did it during winter because it warmed the room up quite nicely. After that, I was like, I have no interest. I have a good graphics card. Yeah, it's a generation old, but it shouldn't make it sound like an aircraft carrier in this room. So I don't really do any AI stuff locally. Everything is in a tab.
Oh, okay. I use AI the same way. I use ChatGPT. That's just what I started with. That was the first thing. So I never moved to something else. So I just copy, paste, into the app itself and then into my editor. I don't use, is that the way you use it as well? Just the application itself?
Basically, I switched to Claude in the last few days because they came out with ChatGPT 5 and it is buggier than crap. Like it's really it like freezes all over the time, and it just gives you. I mean, like it always gives you wrong answers. Like every once in a while, it's just going to give you something that's like blatantly wrong. ChatGPT 5 gives you wrong answers like all the time. Like it just. So I used it a lot in my process of trying to figure out how to do this Emacs thing, right? And I get it to a point where it was workable. I'd do the git push in order to get it up onto GitLab, and then I'd move on to the next thing on my checklist to try to figure out how to get to be as much like Vim as possible. I'd put it in, I'd do my own research and do the Google and stuff because I'm trying not to be too reliant on AI. So if I ended up having to go use AI though, I would, I'd put my question in. It'd give me the solution. I'd read about it. It would look good. I'd put it in the configuration file. It would do the thing that it was supposed to do, but it would break something else. So then I'd have to spend an hour trying to get it to fix what it broke in the first place. There was like multiple times where I had to download, I had to basically go back to a different commit in order to actually get to a working configuration file again, because it just broke everything. So, and Claude has actually been much better in that. It does get things wrong every once in a while, at least in my very limited experience, but it's also phenomenally faster. Like it's almost instantaneous compared to ChatGPT.
I did use Claude because ChatGPT was really stupid, like a year ago, and I was tired of it, and I was like, F this, I'll try Claude, because I was configuring Neovim heavily back then. So when you're doing that kind of stuff, it gets complicated. ChatGPT couldn't do it, so I tried Claude. It was not doing a good job, so I was like, F Claude, I'm gonna go back to ChatGPT, and I don't know, maybe what I was doing, it was not too familiar with at the time. Maybe it's gotten better. I have no idea. I have to give it a try and explore. But the thing is that each one of these things is $20, right? So I pay $20 for ChatGPT. I'm not gonna pay $20 for Claude, or I don't know how much Claude is right now. It's even
20.
More. 20.
Yeah, it's 20. What I did was I canceled ChatGPT and just paid for Claude. Right? It was time to renew anyways. And look, I really don't want to have to pay for these, but I've used the crap out of these things last it's really good to go. It's basically like a better version of Google for me, because it will
$200 for Claude. Rumen says he pays
for a year. That's for the whole year.
No, I do you pay that monthly, Rumen? $200 a month for Claude, man. That's Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so I've used so much of these things, so it feels okay to pay for them, because I think I get my money worth out of it. I don't think it will. I think if there's like a month where I don't use it, I'll just happily just cancel it. That's the reason why I didn't pay for it for the full year. I'll just pay for it, even though I could save like $40. I'll just pay for it monthly. If there's a month where I don't use it, I'll cancel it. The thing is, for me, it's like Google. Like I can just go there, I can ask a question, and yes, it will tell me how to do the thing I'm doing and just give me the code. But it does a good job of usually of explaining what it does. And if you read through that, you can actually learn things. Yeah. My worry about the whole AI thing is that people will just take the code and just go, and not actually
not knowing what's happening. Yep.
So just pro tip, read the stuff, because then you can actually learn what it's done. And you can see, a lot of times you can forestall any like failures by reading what it's done, because you can say like, wait a minute, hold on a second, you're doing something there that doesn't make any sense. Rethink that, you know what I mean? It will come back with another option. Another cool thing about Claude is that it will iterate on itself within the conversation. So it will like give you some things, and like it'll be like halfway through, like, wait a minute, this isn't the right way to do it. So it'll stop and it'll start over again. And that's something that ChatGPT doesn't do on its own. You have to tell ChatGPT when it screws up, and it will go, and then you ever use ChatGPT and then you tell it did something wrong, it's like, oh, you're right, absolutely. I'm so sorry I made a mistake, let me fix that for you, as if you were the one that made the mistake in the first place. The condescending piece of sorry. I found Claude to be much more personable. I know it seems really weird, but it doesn't try too hard to ChatGPT is like that one friend you have who thinks he's right about everything he does. And even when he's proven wrong, usually he somehow manufactures a way to make it look like your fault. And
once you get the first, you're absolutely correct. It's just gonna be shit after that. It's just goes downhill.
You're gonna go in circles
once
after that, right?
Once it says that, it's gone. You lost them. Once it's
when I was using the ChatGPT, I was doing some work with the bar I use here in Hyperland. And I was trying to create a new design, and this uses a really weird version of CSS. I think it's called SCSS, and so it's like a pared down version of CSS, right? And nobody knows what it does include, what it doesn't include, so it's just easier sometimes to go ask. And the thing is that ChatGPT will not remember that this bar doesn't use full CSS. You have to remind it every single time. And it's not that you have to remind it every single chat, which is, fine. If you don't remember stuff between chat, that's whatever. It seems like you should be able to do that, but let's move on past that. Sometimes you have to remind it 12 or 13 times within the same chat. Like you can't even remember the chat history. Like, come on, man, this is stupid. It doesn't like this stuff is sometimes you'll get into chat to AI and like, man, this seems like magic. You know what I mean? Like this is the way things are supposed to work. You're supposed to be like, it's like having a Jarvis, around where you can just ask things, right? If you've ever used like the Chat GPT app, there's like a button on there that gives you a floating circle and you can talk to it, right? And it's kind of like having Jarvis, and like it'll show you do stuff. And every once in a while it's like that. Like it's really, really cool. Vast majority of the time, though, it's not so much magic as it is just slightly better Google. You know what I mean? It's like it's just going to give you some results. And just like with Google, sometimes those results are from 2008. You know what I mean? And they're not quite where they need to be. So you need to use with your own caution. That's the way I've been dealing with it.
And sometimes it's not in the mood. It's just like it doesn't want to work. But when it gives you the answer, I compliment it, and that's fucking stupid. Maybe it works, and I tell it, man, that's awesome. You did it great. I just wanted to continue, doing things right. Because if it gives me the first, oh, you're absolutely correct. I know it's fucked. I know I'm done. I'm not gonna get anywhere. So I compliment it, so it continues,
I'm the same way. I say please and thank you to this thing. Like when it gets, like I say good job if it gets it right on the first try. The funny thing is, like, if you've been at it for a little while, like it tells you that like you're absolutely right, and you're in that loop where it just is constantly getting something wrong.
Yep.
And if finally you've just been in it for so long, eventually ChatGPT will just stop being chatty. It will just throw an answer at you. It will not say any words. It'll just give you a splot of code, no explanation whatsoever. It's just code, and you're like, what does that even do? What does it mean? Why did you choose this direction? And it's like, it's given up.
Have you ever told it Claude does it better or DeepSeek does it better?
I actually told Claude that today. I told it, you're way better than ChatGPT.
Oh, man.
And it's true. It's just way fast. It's way faster. Like ChatGPT was so slow. I had to get away from it because it was literally freezing the tab. Like that thing that comes up every once in a while. Maybe it doesn't do that for you very often, but every once in a while, a tab will crash in your browser and it'll just like show you the JavaScript logo. It was doing that in ChatGPT. It was like showing me, it was like just completely crashing, and I had to get away from it. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll cancel ChatGPT and try Claude. Every time I have to use ChatGPT, for me, it's like, oh man, here we go again. It's not pleasant, but it's way faster. I don't know Lua. I don't want to learn Lua. I don't understand Lua. Lua is difficult. It's different. It's really different for me, and I cannot get my head around it. So AI has been really useful in that case, but I'll give it a try. I'll cancel ChatGPT, try Claude, see how it is, and then come back. I keep coming back to ChatGPT. It seems you're staying in Claude, right?
I mean, I'm not married to it or anything, but if it stays the way that it is right now, yeah, it's phenomenally better, at least for what I've been doing. It's been getting the answer more correct, but lately anyways, and I can't discount the speed. It's just so much faster than ChatGPT. like even if I'd rather have the wrong answer faster. You know what I mean? Because ChatGPT is going to get it wrong anyways, but it's slow. So at least give me the wrong answer quick. Because then we can move on and try to work towards the part that's going to actually work. And I do like that iteration that Claude does, where it will look at it's doing something, and then it will like something in the back of its mind, like, oh my god, this isn't going to work. Now ChatGPT will allow you to upload all of your like say you wanted to do your Neovim config up there, right? You could upload the whole configuration up there, and it would be able to
Claude?
look at that, right? No, into ChatGPT you can do that. Or you can upload the whole thing, and then it can just kind of know exactly what your whole configuration is about.
But it's really dumb. It doesn't get it, right?
Well, see,
I
the thing
tried
about
uploading a zip file. I remember, very specific Neovim config, and it didn't do it. And I was like, and I had to do it manually, small pieces at a time.
Yeah. Well, so I do like that about ChatGPT, where at least in theory you can upload the zip file. Claude, you can do that. So I have like 30 files which are part of my Emacs config. I had to upload them all into the project, but once it had the project knowledge, I found that it was able to actually put things together better than ChatGPT ever was, which I thought was good. So yeah.
There's this thing called Claude Code, I think, that has access to the files. Not only I have not used it, but I think it has access to all of the files in a project, for example, and it can access the context. Rumen says that's what he uses. So you use Claude Code, right, Rumen? And does it have access to the context or not? Have you tried that by any chance, Matt, or no?
No, because I don't put any of that stuff. So like I think Claude Code is something that you can download on your computer and have it but you can, if you want something similar, attach your GitHub account so it can kind of see all of your repositories, and you could get it that way. I'm pretty sure that the Claude Code is something that you put on your computer, but I haven't used it, so I can tell you that for sure or not.
Okay.
It sounds like a pretty good idea to have it like on your computer. I'm afraid that if I get too comfy with it, I'll just use it all the time. And I found myself, the more that I use AI, sometimes I feel like I'm getting dumber by the second. So I've tried my hardest to not use it, and my first response is always to go find the answer myself. I'll go do the actual Googling, just like 2 years ago, before AI was even in our minds. Go to a Google search, see if I can find the thing on like Stack Overflow or whatever it is, and if I can't, then I will go to AI and ask the question. Now, granted, most of the time I still do end up on AI because it just feels faster sometimes. And as long as I remind myself to read what it's doing, I can at least remember, to try to at least think that I'm learning something. But like your guy in the chat that Rumen says, Google has the AI stuff now. So even
that's what
when you're
on the top,
and when you're trying to be good about it and go do it the old-fashioned way, it still gives, like the other day I asked for a bash, like help with a bash script. It just gave me the answer at the top. Like I didn't want the answer. I wanted the experience of figuring out how to do a case, on my own. But it's
comfortable. I must admit, because I hated that search at the top, the result at the top. I was like, this is crap. I never read it, and I skipped it, But recently, I've been noticing the answers that it gives, and I've been like, okay, this one was right, because I know that what it's saying is right. I can confirm it, and I'm like, okay, not too bad, So I don't know what's gonna happen with search, actually,
I don't know. Gemini is one that I wouldn't ever subscribe to. Like I have it free for like 6 months or whatever, and I thought, well, because Google's good at that, like give you a free 6 months trial to kind of hook you in. But I also have Google stuff around my office here. So if I want to turn the lights off, I say, hey, whatever, turn the lights off. And the problem with Gemini is that it keeps a history of everything, including every time you turn the lights off. So you go into the Gemini UI, and all of your history is just turn the lights off, turn the lights off, turn the light. So if you want to actually go see the history of like when you're trying to work on something real, you have to scroll through all this stuff, and it was not good. So maybe I should just use different accounts for that kind of stuff. But I just have the one Google account. So anyways, I am gonna have to hop off here pretty soon. My dog needs to go out, and I need to go do my stuff. But the AI thing is really, we've done multiple AI episodes on the Linux Cast, and it's just one of those topics that's gonna keep coming up over and over again because it does feel kind of like the future.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Really appreciate it, man. I'm going to leave your channel in the video description. I still had a few other questions that I want to go over. Maybe we can meet another day or something.
I'm willing to do this again if you want to do another episode in the future, whatever. If you and just have keep those for the next time. I'm pretty
Yeah.
much always around.
I'll keep them there. I just also want to thank the CEO because I have memberships right now. So one of the deals is that if someone becomes a CEO, it's $50, by the way. I have to say their name on every video. So that's web23, web23.com. So I just wanted to share out there. I'm also going to add the credits here. I'm going to leave a link to your video, to your YouTube channel in the video description and everything, Matt. Really appreciate the help. Any final words, anything you want to say at the end?
No, this has been very fun. We covered the gamut of a lot of things. The next time I'm on, my challenge will be to get you to switch off from macOS and switch to Linux.
Oh, man.
I will come prepared better next time, and I will try to turn you into a Linux nerd. I'll even send you a hat if you successfully use Linux full time for 2 years. You gotta join the challenge, man.
I'm married to Mac, man. I have the iPhone. I have everything.
You can still
here.
do those things without the computer. You don't have to have the computer. It's not like you have to plug into iTunes anymore, man. It's not the 90s.
We'll see. Everyone keeps telling me to switch to Linux, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll give up eventually or not, but we'll see.
All right.
Right, Matt? Thank you, man. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.